Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor has called the meeting to order. Mayor Davey.
Here.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Here.
Councilmember Laredo.
Here.
Vice Mayor London. Councilmember McCormick. Councilmember Moss.
Here.
Councilmember Segurola. Here. Mr. Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Okay.
The first item is an invocation by Father Andrew Bolton, St. Agnes Catholic Church.
Okay. Is Father here?
Yes. Good evening.
Oh, good evening. Sorry. Looking for you in the room. Hi, Father.
Let us begin. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Thank you, Father.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is brief comments by council.
All right. Well, I'd just like to welcome everybody back. I know Ed's on his way in. The vice mayor's on his way in. This is the first time, this is the first time this council has ever sat together on this dais. So I want to thank everybody for your patience as a community. I know this hasn't been easy, but I feel like we're coming out of it, and I think we're doing pretty well up here. I also want to, we talked about it a little bit last night. I wanted everybody to know, Art Urian, who's the director of Bill Baggs, the Cape Florida State Park, had a tough personal incident a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to tell Liz, his wife, and his family, we're all thinking about him. He's a tremendous person, and we're all wishing him really well. Councilmember McCormick.
I just wanted to wish Jake a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jake. Councilmember Kaplan.
I'll have to recuse myself on item 10A. So I'll disappear when that item comes up. And with apologies, I need to take a short break at 7 p.m. to attend to something that I could not avoid. I'm sorry for that.
No worries.
Denied on both counts.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Ask for permission, you get in trouble.
All right. All right, let's move on.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is public comments.
Right. We have a number of folks signed up here. If anybody else in the chambers would like to speak on any issue tonight, this is the time. I would ask that you go outside, you fill out a blue card. I think Steve Simon just went out to fill out a blue card. And so that way you can register and be heard. If you are at home, if you'd like to speak, if you're on Zoom, you can just raise your hand. Otherwise, Pete will be giving instructions after we get to the end of all the folks who are in the chambers who would like to speak. So you have 3 minutes. You please state your name, your address, and if you are a hired consultant or village employee and or engaged in lobbying activities or representing an organization, and we need you to do that for the record. So our first speaker is Nina Wallen, please. Hold on, give them a second because they've got to get you. Pete, can you bring her in so folks can hear her on Zoom?
Hold on.
Can you give the public speakers need to be brought into Zoom from the podium?
Yes, sir. We're working on it right now.
Thank you. Just 1 second before we go.
What else is the speaker's live.
Okay. Nina Wallen, 270 Hampton Lane. I am here as a longtime resident, grew up here, and love Biscayne. So nothing to do with any lobbyists. I'm here because I do not support the resolution B, which is in reference to the recreation center and the COVID restrictions that are there. I would like to make sure that everybody is, I would assume, is fully aware of DeSantis' executive order, the 21-101, as well as the 21-102. It essentially lifts all COVID restrictions. And I was here yesterday for the topic of crime here on Key Biscayne for that reason. One of the biggest things that even yesterday, Councilman Laredo, you even mentioned, there are strong supporters of law and order, no tolerance going on. And this is one of the times that I think that as the council, as the adults in the village here, this is our one opportunity to lead by example. And I'm a little worried because instead it seems that it's more of, that it's actually showing that you're being the first in violation of the executive orders as well as the Florida Constitution. We just had the crime meeting yesterday that went through all of this. So how do you expect the children to have a permanent, to behave when there is literally a permanent pandemic over them? Asking them to be 6 feet away, 3 feet away, wearing masks indoors, outdoors, when they're playing sports, indoors, no matter what, when they are literally not the vulnerable group. And especially when the vaccination rates here on the island have satisfied far and beyond than what's been elsewhere. The closing of the beaches, the recreation center, the splash pad in the park, not being with their peers, masking kids inside and outside while playing. Kids need to be kids. That's what they're here to do and enjoy their childhood. Everything's opened up. We have restaurants now, we have bars open. The adults don't seemingly feel it anymore. They don't wear the mask when they're out sitting down having lunch, but these kids are asked to do it at all times. It seems that the council is continuing a pandemic fear and imposing it on our children instead of showing the leadership to get our kids out of the mass. People absolutely, and I will say this, they absolutely have the right to not participate in activities, which as of right now are not available anyways because it's not, the recreation center is not open. And they always have the option to wear a mask, to wear several masks, should they feel it necessary. The point is that we have individual rights to use for the use of the public facilities without the restrictions. I hope that this council stops procrastinating. It has been 15 days since
Gotta ask you to stop.
Since
Sorry.
the order.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Karen Bieber.
Hello, Karen Bieber, 798 Crandon. Not a lobbyist, not paid. So, anyway, this is a copy of the email that I sent everyone. I hope you got it and got to read it. I'm going to read it now and just make some comments afterwards so that everyone can hear, and just in case you didn't get to read it last night. I have lived and owned property on Key Biscayne for over 25 years, and I've been kite surfing here for 20 years, very safely. Please know that there has never been a kite surfing related accident on our beach. Thank God. Never, not one. And this speaks volumes, especially as it relates to what we really need to categorize as dangerous on our island. We have an organized group Key Biscayne Kitesurf Association, safety is always at the top of our minds. I have a family. I want to go home to my family every day. My kids learn to kite surf. Certainly I want them to be safe. So safety is at the top of our minds always. We're not just thinking about it, but we are practicing safety. Are there dangerous and rude kiters? Yeah, I believe that there are. I also believe that there are very dangerous and rude drivers. So just as you would not suggest closing the streets to cars because you think there are dangerous drivers, it makes no sense to suggest closing the beach to kite surfing. Again, no accidents ever. We plan to keep it that way. We want our rules enforced. We want it to keep everyone safe. We want to keep ourselves safe. We want to keep beachgoers safe. We do self-police, but sometimes there are rogue, dangerous, belligerent people, and we want to work with our village. We want to work with our police department. So if we need to call, we are confident that somebody can be removed, because you can imagine people can get extremely aggressive and belligerent when they're being told they're not following the rules, you need to leave. So we want to engender that trust between the kite surfing group and the village and the police department so that we can enforce the rules correctly, so that everybody's happy and everybody's safe. With all due respect to the years and the efforts and the conversations that took place to get the kite surfing spot, and we were thrilled to have it. Personally, I do not believe it's actually the best spot. I don't think it's the best spot for safety for anybody. I think there are better locations. And I hope that we can all work together to find what that safe place is within the village. I also believe that educating the beachgoers is critical. We're always advising when there are advisements, conditions, something in the road, bacteria in the water. So we know the rules, but we also believe that everybody who comes here, who lives and perhaps visits, should understand it. If it's a designated kite surfing zone, for example, please don't swim in the channel. That's just not safe. You wouldn't swim in a boating channel, so please don't swim in this channel. So anyway, that's, we think that being able to advise the public is very important. A responsible pedestrian would not just wander onto a busy road thinking I have the right of way. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I look forward to an inclusive and productive conversation about a new spot and how we can make this as safe as possible for everybody. Thank you.
Sorry, your name?
That's okay.
Yeah, of course. Of course. There's 4 of you lined up in a
Good
row.
evening to all. My name is Monica Dean. I've been a long-term resident in Key Biscayne. I'm not a lobbyist.
State your address, please.
200 Ocean Lane Drive, apartment 501. I want to begin by saying I love kite surfing. I think it's an amazing sport. I don't practice it, but I love watching it. I am an amateur swimmer. I swim in the ocean. I swim where we are allowed to swim. I mean, 300 feet inside, west to the coast. And unfortunately, my swimming time has become a nightmare because of the inconsiderate behavior of several reckless kite surfers who apparently believe that the ocean between Oceana and Key Colony is reserved for their use, for their exclusive use, even though there are 2 signs that indicate very clearly in English and Spanish that operating vessels, including kite surfing boards, are not allowed within 300 feet east of the beach. Last Sunday around 5 p.m., while I was swimming west of the marking poles, as I just said, between Key Colony and Oceana, 2 kite surfers decided for some reason to team up to try to disrupt my swimming. Consequently, they proceeded to kiteboard back and forth in front of me and behind me at high speed and within a few feet of my face and feet. They succeeded in creating a consistent wake that made swimming almost impossible. Honestly, it was horrible. I was terrified, and all of this occurred less than 200 feet from the shore. Kite surfers can travel at 40 miles an hour, potentially, making them into a lethal weapon should they have any contact with a swimmer or a bather. To make matters worse, many kiteboarders are adding a foil to their boards to make them even faster and to compensate for low wind, thereby making them more lethal. I have been told that a number of these kite surfers, some of whom are operating businesses, have a sense of entitlement because they pay the village $400 annual fee, which they claim gives them the exclusive use of the beach, shore, and the entire ocean zone between Key Colony and Oceana. As many residents can attest, on most weekends, it is almost impossible to walk from one end to another without tripping over the strings that are used to guide the kites. Some of these strings are more than 50 feet in length and consequently are almost unavoidable. God forbid that a resting kite catches a draft and accidentally trips and or cuts someone who happens to be walking by. This madness needs to stop immediately. It needs to stop before we confront a life-threatening accident. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Well, Viviana, would you like to go?
Viviana?
Hi, good evening. Viviana Goris, 201 Crandon Boulevard. I have 7 grandkids and I am a swimmer also. They are coming on the weekends, and in the last 4 weekends, it was impossible for us to stay in the ocean. I feel like an invasion because it's like they are taking over Key Colony from Oceana to Key Colony. I have pictures, I took pictures every weekend, and there are more and more kites every weekend. I don't feel safe swimming, and I don't allow my kids, my grandkids, to stay. They are from 6 to 13, and I say, no, let's go. We cannot stay in the water. And we cannot also walk to the lighthouse because we have to walk through all the streams that they have right on the shore. So we live in a beautiful island. You see, we have a long shore from the marina to the lighthouse, and there are a lot of places that they can do the sport safely for them and for us. We have the right to enjoy our home. That's it.
Diaz or?
It's my wife, so she has to go ahead of me.
Maggie Diaz, 201 Crandon Boulevard. I feel that kite is a great sport, but it's very, very dangerous the way things are happening now. Every day there are more and more kite surfers in between, especially when they go out and when they come in between Oceana and Key Colony, and you are swimming and you have someone going right by you. You have to be watching every minute. We have a lot of families in that area swimming. I was walking the other day to the lighthouse, and as I was coming back, one fell right on my head, the whole thing. It actually hurt my head. And I said to the man, are you crazy? I mean, you cannot do this. You have to do it out there and come back. Oh, I'm sorry. But that happened to a little kid. It would really hurt them badly. So I think that something needs to be done. I'm not saying do away with them. I'm saying move them to a safer area. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least.
I don't have to say anything. They say everything. I'm Julio Diaz, 201 Crandon Boulevard. I am here today really to ask the council to reconsider allowing kite surfing in Key Biscayne, in our village, in our beach. Kite surfing can be, and I heard the lady and the record maybe is fantastic, but I find it unsafe and dangerous. It is dangerous to swimmers. It is dangerous to people hanging out on the water, having a good afternoon. And it's even dangerous to people on the shore because the kite goes up and the kite goes down. And if you're walking on the shore, you're also liable to be hurt. The boards move very fast. And if they hit you, they're going to harm you. The kites are up in the air, but sometimes they're uncontrollable. They come down. If they hit you, they will harm you. Unfortunately, and with all due respect, some surfers do not follow protocol. So instead of going vertical or perpendicular to the 300 meters. They come out right next to the shore, and that's where people are swimming. Furthermore, the level of experience of the surfers varies quite a bit, and there's some inexperienced surfers that really the kite controls them. They do not control the kite. We even, as it was mentioned before, we have instructors now showing people how to, novices, how to kite surf. I don't think the village right now is monitoring what is happening. I think that more surfers will come and the situation will get worse. We need to take action. The village or council needs to take action before an accident happens, not after the accident happens. So I'm here asking again for you to reconsider allowing kite surfing in the village. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Steve Simon, please. What?
Steve Simon, 335 Harbor Lane. I watched last night's meeting. While the things that came up were important, here's what I think is also important. Data. We heard statistics about juvenile arrests from before COVID in 2019. The number was 0. And since the pandemic began, juvenile arrests in 2020 and thus far in 2021 were 31 and 12 respectively. Let me share another statistic obtained during the pandemic. Every few years, the village conducts a scientific survey of us, the residents, through the ETC Institute. The results of the 2020 survey were reported to council just a few months ago. If you look at the items that residents feel are of high importance and should receive the most emphasis from leaders over the next 2 years, the quality of facilities and services for teens. I believe that typically adults complete these ETC surveys. That means that families, the parents, along with other compassionate adults in the community, recognize the problem, the need, and are asking the village for help. The question before you, the council, and our new village manager is how will we as a community respond? If we only look at this narrowly as a crime and punishment model, we will have failed the vast majority of our youth who are in their formative years. Instead, I ask you to step back and look at this as a public health matter. Then look closely at the following potential federal funding mechanism to see if the village of Key Biscayne qualifies. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. There's local government authority to spend those allocations, and the funds may be used for 4 categories of expenditures, one of which is local government programs. They may range from public health and social services programs to community development programs to social and recreational programs. Why should you look at the development of our youth as a public health or community-wide or societal matter? Here's from 2 experts in the field, Professor Peter Witt from Texas A&M, who I used to correspond with and quote when I represented the village manager and council in public meetings 20 years ago, and Professor Linda Caldwell from Penn State, who co-edited a book in 2018 entitled Youth Development, Principles and Practices in Out-of-School Time Settings. Here's a few of their quotes. What are the systemic things that enable kids to be successful? Communities with positive youth programs contribute to making the journey from childhood to adulthood successful. We know that most kids get in trouble because they have too much time on their hands. A strategy based on promoting positive experiences through out-of-school activities is more effective than an approach solely focused on reducing problems. No community, not even your seemingly unique island of Key Biscayne, is immune from issues of helping kids grow up successful. Thank you.
Hello, I've been a resident of Key Biscayne for Susan Jock, 430 Grand Bay Drive. I've been a resident of Key Biscayne for 20 years. I'm gonna run down several different items. Is that okay? And I'll make them brief. The first one is the kite surfers. I think they're gorgeous. I can see them from where I live. I'm down at the beach all the time, but I recognize that it's not safe anymore. One of the kite surfers was walking down the beach with his kite as if he was a kite, flying it and it was coming down toward the people on their beach chairs. And I was like, oh, we've really got to do something about this, because it was like he could have just wiped out 20 people just like that. It was really scary. I think they're great. I think they should have a place, but right now it doesn't seem like they have a place. They seem like they're all over the place. So a brief masks, I think with what our governor has said and the CDC, I think it's time we encourage our businesses to move away from the enforcement of masks. They've gotten to the point where, you know, you walk in without your mask, and some of them are really rude, and that's not good for our tourists nor our residents. I've been going to some of these shops for 20 years, and I expect to be treated with respect. The next one is smart lights. Do we have smart lights? I'm not sure about that anymore. I think it's gotten worse instead of better. At the entryway, Ocean Drive, Harbor Drive, that light is very long now. I never remember it being so long, where Ocean Drive green light is on so long. I'm walking there almost every morning, and I'm recognizing a real problem. All that traffic is waiting to get into the island. And so they seem to be off. The next one is bikers. I don't know if there's anything we can do when they're taking up both what are they called? Both columns of the road. It's, you know, what are drivers supposed to do? They're looking for trouble. I think we need to really police our bikers better, our road bikers that come to the island, or our residents of the island. It doesn't matter who, we want them to be safe. We want our drivers to be safe. The Harbor Park, I'd like to consider selling that to a resident. I think it's really a strange place for a park on Harbor Drive. Then we should really have some basketball courts for our youth. You can see that the girls are really enjoying the volleyball court at the park. And I think the boys and girls need a basketball court. I really thought it should have been where the dog park was. It wasn't that I didn't like dogs when I was—
Susan, I got to ask you to wrap up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else in the chambers who would like to speak before we open it up? No, you're going, don't worry, you're a special presentation. Okay, so Pete, if you can read off the rules of engagement here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching us at home on channel 77 on Comcast, on channel 99 on AT&T, or streaming us live via our website, if you wish to speak, please dial the following phone number: 305-365-7569. Then please enter the meeting ID of 231-627-8415. For those of you that are currently in our Zoom meeting or dialed in by phone, if you're dialed in by telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, or simply raise your hand using the Zoom app. Mr. Mayor, I do have 3 people currently signed up to speak. Our first speaker is telephone number ending in 734. Caller, please dial *6 on your telephone to unmute yourself. Caller, you are live.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. This is Alana Festa, 695 Harbor Lane. I grew up here on the Key, and I've been a resident here now for a few years. I don't know if you can see me in the video. I'm in the Zoom also, but apologies, I couldn't be there in person. I wanted to speak today about the kite surfing. I emailed everyone. I hope you got my email in an effort to acknowledge that there are some concerns, some of those that were voiced today. And of course, they're not unmerited. We as a kite surfing community have been monitoring the situation. We pay very, very close attention to it. So I want to assure those in the room today and anyone else listening that we care very deeply about the safety of everybody. That includes not only our community itself, but also everyone on the beach going public, the non-kite surfers. We're really, really aware of safety. Every one of us has to be certified in order to fly the kite. And part of that certification is a rigorous tutorial, or I should say, course around safety. So that being said, we do recognize that there are some people who are not following the rules, and we want to address those concerns. So that's point number one. Point number two is I think we do have kind of a couple of things that have been discussed today, and that's something that is in the minds of all of us as a community, in that we want to address some of the short-term concerns. I believe some of it came about as a result of the beach renourishment project. I think prior to that, we had a pretty self-contained spot, and that I think got a little bit spread out when the spot was closed of the beach renourishment. So I think there's a little bit of a symptom of that, and it needs to be reined back in. And I think a part of that reining it back in is on our responsibility as a community to create more awareness, and we are doing that, rest assured. But also to engage the public. I think Karen brought this up, is that being a pedestrian walking around the streets, you look out for cars, you don't just walk in front of them. I think the same holds true for walking on the beach, just as much as we want to make sure that people can walk. There are rules about the lines. They're clearly not being followed. We think that there are some people who may or may not be members of our association who are frequenting the beach, and that these are some of the issues that we see that we want a chance to work together to address, to try to help rein in what we see as a problem in the short term, and then come up with potentially longer term solutions. And I think that involves
Alana, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Educating the kiters.
Alana?
Yep, you got it.
All right. You can finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Yeah. I was just going to say it involves not only educating the kiters, but also educating beachgoers. So we want to, have a two-pronged approach there. So thanks so much, and I appreciate your considering giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next caller, Mr. Mayor, is telephone number ending in 554. Caller, please dial *6 on your telephone now to unmute yourself.
There you go. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Alejandro Serrano. I live in 784 Ridgewood Road, Key Biscayne. I'm not a lobbyist. Mayor Mike Davey, the village manager, the village council, and any other party involved are hereby put on notice that should they attempt to use their incorrect interpretation of the CDC guidelines to unlawfully intend to circumvent the state of Florida governor's executive orders number 21-101 and 21-102 by attempting to enforce COVID-19 restrictions, including but not limited to social distancing and facial covering. They will not only continue to be in violation of the previously mentioned executive orders and in violation of Article 4, Section 1A of the Florida Constitution, but they will also be in violation collectively as well as in their private capacity of the Constitution of the United States as follows. 1, violation of the First Amendment, freedom of religion, the act of imposing mandatory medical precautions, preventatives, treatments, and/or procedures without regard for the religious or conscious freedoms of the people is a direct violation of the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Number 2, violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 242, which makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. Number 3, violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 241, which makes it unlawful for 2 or more persons to agree together to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in any state, territory, or district in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him or her by the Constitution of the laws of the United States because of him or her having exercised the same. Number 4, 18 U.S. Code Section 1091, basic offense. Whoever, whether in time of peace or time of war, and with specific intent to destroy in whole or in substantial part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such, causes seriously bodily injury to members of that group, causes the permanent impairment of the mental faculties of members of that group through medical preventions, torture, or similar techniques, subjects the group to conditions of life that are intended to cause the physical destruction of the group in whole or in part. I will close by stating that you will, in addition, be in violation of the Nuremberg Code. In agreement with the Nuremberg Code, all humans have the right to be fully informed and refuse without consequence to participate in any medical precautions, preventives, treatments, and or procedures, including but not limited to face coverings and social distancing. Thank you.
Have a good night. Next.
Our next caller, Mr. Mayor, is Ann Tainter.
Go ahead, Ann. State your name and address, please.
Right, Ann Tainter, 170 Ocean Lane Drive. I think some of our residents have AD, but anyway, while I'm calling this, that do we have an update on Bear Cut Bridge? Have we heard anything about it, or we talked about hiring our own engineer to check it out? I mean, hurricane season's coming up. I know that there's been provisions for if it goes down to still be able to come on the key, but I'm more worried about me being on it when it comes down. Do we have an update?
Well, this is public comments, Ann, so you say whatever you want, and
well, you can't answer me.
Yeah, well, if I do, then I get into all sorts of interesting discussions. So.
Okay, well, I just want to put that out there that we really
appreciate it.
Look into this. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
We'll get you an update, Ann.
Our next caller, Mr. Mayor, is telephone number ending in 906. Caller, please dial *6 on your telephone to unmute yourself.
Good evening, Michelle Esteves, 425 Great Tree Drive, Unit 204. Attending to the meeting last night, I given some thoughts after, and I suggest to you and recommend that the police department have all the golf carts registered. So by having their registration, I'm sure, or hopefully they will have their addresses. We should mail a letter to all the golf cart registered within the village, and we can send a copy of the consequences that the kids will have by driving golf carts with no license and everything else. That's something else that can help us tremendously. And also, I would like to thank the council for considering and the mayor to keep some safety matters for us, the residents, like not enforcing because it doesn't say, but to use the mask and to keep the distance. I think that some of us that we have lost close friends during the pandemic, some of us that we have contracted COVID and we were in the hospital, we know the consequences and we know how hard it is. So I thank the manager for considering that. I'm sure that people is not going to be arrested. I'm sure that people will be requested. The same thing for the freedom that we have is the freedom that I have my rules in my business. I have my rules in my home. So it doesn't mean that we cannot take some safety measurements for our residents. And I thank you, the manager and the council, for considering that we continue to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I have no one else signed up to speak.
Okay.
Okay. The next item, Mr. Mayor, is the agenda: approval, deferrals, additions, deletions, substitutions, and withdrawals.
Okay.
I wonder.
Councilmember Segurola, McCormick, and then Laredo.
Can't hear.
I have two deletions. I would like to delete 12B2 and 12B3.
Okay. Councilmember McCormick.
I would like to add 12B.
Seven.
Well, it's not 7 now because we lost 2 and 3, but you guys can do the math. At the end of 12B, a very short little idea that I had that I wanted to share with everyone to see if it's even worth pursuing, of a conversation about a possible temporary skate park.
Okay.
Temporary what?
Skate park.
Okay.
You're going to hear about skate parks in a few more minutes. Councilmember
That's
Laredo?
why it seemed timely. I didn't mean to
okay.
To
Councilmember
drop
Laredo?
it, but
Yes, I wonder, in light of the comments and the people who are here, the public and others are tuning in, if we can move 12B6 to 12B1 so the citizen can participate and then go home.
That's fine. I think it's fine. I'll put that. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll move it.
All right. Second. All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just dead.
Motion carries.
Okay, let's move on.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is a special presentation on the latest developments regarding Key Biscayne Branch Library by Miami-Dade County Commissioner Raquel Regalado and Library Director Ray Baker.
I see them there, and thank you very much for waiting for us. I appreciate it.
No worries. We actually had our Board of County Commissioners meeting today, so it's been a long day. I was happy not to be in the range of fire. So first and foremost, thank you all so much for making the time. I'm happy to stick around later if you have any questions about other issues and kind of give you an update on what's happening at the county. But I wanted to be mindful of Ray's time. As you guys know, Ray Baker heads up the department of our library services. And we've been working on a solution for our Key Biscayne library problem. So if you guys will recall, once upon a time, the site was donated by Key Colony. And the library worked with the prior commissioner to actually expand the footprint of the library, which became very controversial. There is a litigation at our, a month and a half ago, I think, at our Board of County Commissioners meeting, I requested that the board allow me to speak directly with Key Colony and try to resolve the litigation. As a member of the Board of County Commissioners, I have to be given that authority by my peers, and that actually happened. So we've been speaking with them, and we actually have another meeting with the full board tomorrow. But before we present to them what Ray's been working on, which I think really responds to all the possible concerns that everyone could have, we wanted to present it to you. There are two options, and Ray will walk you through them. My preference is for the second option because I know that Key Biscayne is in desperate need of community space, and I would really want this library to be a place where the community can gather and where we can have extensive programming as befits a regional library, right? We'll talk about the area surrounding it and what we've done to accommodate the neighbors. But first and foremost, I want to thank Ray and his team for their amazing work and patience throughout this process. And I hope you like the design. So with that, I pass it on to Ray, who has also been patiently waiting and has put in a very long day at Miami-Dade County Libraries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. And welcome to the new village manager as well. We look forward to working with all of you. And let me share screen here really quickly. Hold on, I get it up there. Okay.
So as the commissioner mentioned, we've been working for some time, going back to when actually Council Member Kaplan was last on the commission. Glad to see him back.
Thank you, Ray.
And good to see you. And we've continued working on this project as we've gone along. And I'm just going to run through, I have 28 slides here, but I'll try to do those very quickly and skim through them, understanding that we're going to have quite a bit of time going forward to talk about these in more detail. So the commissioner mentioned just a brief history of the Key Biscayne Library, donated by Fritz Scherenberg as the original sales center for Key Colony back in the 1970s, and was deeded to the county back in 1979 and opened in 1985 as the Key Biscayne Library. And it's faithfully served the purpose of a library for the last 36 years, not counting the time it served as a sales center. So this building has got some good mileage behind it. And as we've talked about before with some of you, we've been going through a concerted effort to modernize our oldest branches throughout the system. We've done a significant amount of work, not only in renovating branches, but in building new libraries and replacing older libraries in our system. And I think everyone would agree that the existing Key Biscayne Library falls into what I would call a legacy location for us as it relates to the range of services, the programs that we can do. And I think we want to change that. We want to build a new library on Key Biscayne. So about a year ago now, we engaged with an outside architectural firm, Ferguson, Glasgow, Schuster, and Soto, to work with us on developing a conceptual design renderings for a new library. And I'm going to share those renderings with you today. As the commissioner said, we have two options, a one-story and a two-story version, which I'll show you. But I want to reiterate, we consider this really the first step in our kind of public input process. We plan on scheduling community meetings. We plan on providing some other feedback options for the village residents. And we really want this to be a collaborative process with you as we go forward. So these pictures are kind of small, but you'll see the big versions coming up in the next one, next slides. First version is a one-story concept. This would involve knocking down the existing library and building a approximately 9,000 square foot enclosed one-story branch, brand new branch. That would be about 1,500, 1,600 square feet bigger than the current branch. And as Commissioner Regalado also mentioned, we're also looking at a two-story concept, which we think is a way to really get the best bang for our buck, not only in planning for the future of the library of Key Biscayne, but in helping solve some of the community space issues that exist in the village. And the two-story concept would be about 17,000 square feet under air conditioned. And that's more than 2 times bigger than the current branch that we have. So this is a view of the one-story concept. And one thing I want to point out about, I know, in working with Key Colony over the years, we know we've had some complaints at times about the noise factor from garbage trucks, from delivery trucks, which are currently stationed over on the parking lot side of the building. For both the one and the two-story concept, we've moved the delivery and kind of logistics area to this side of the building to help kind of move that away from the residential units that are in Key Colony. I think that would be just a better location for it going forward and would help deal with some of the complaints that we received in the past. So that's one version of that. Just another view of the face, and this really gives the branch a really good entrance from the Crandon side. I mean, I think right now, when you go by the branch, you don't really see this side as well or know that there's an entrance on that side of the branch. I think this has a really nice public-facing look to it on Crandon Boulevard, as well as kind of some patio features, front porch features to it that I think can also be utilized by our residents. It's a view from across the street. I want to point out that we're working with roughly the same footprint that exists for the current library, and we're not doing anything negative to the pond that would stay in place, as well as the walkway leading up through the parking lot to the side of the branch. But just for both the 1 and 2-story version, we're working with roughly the same footprint. It's just a view from the side leading from the parking lot up to the branch. And the roof openings you see here is kind of an outdoor feature that is only facing the Crandon Boulevard side, kind of an outdoor reading area that we would activate potentially with some fountains in there and just a place for the public to enjoy an outside area. Once again, this is on the Crandon Boulevard side only. Just an aerial view of what the 1-story looks like relative to the other buildings around it. That's the branch there. And we weren't sure if this was a real concern of neighboring residents, and this is Google Earth views from the Key Colony side. You see it says view from condo unit, but I want to be very clear. I did not go and jump the fence and jump in anyone's condo unit and take these pictures. These are solely from Google Earth. We just wanted to give you an idea of what the tree line looks like if you were viewing the new branch from Key Colony. It's one view, and this is another Google Earth image from the condo pool deck. This is what the back of the branch would look like. And we do not have any windows currently on this side of the branch, trying to take into consideration potential privacy concerns from the residents of Key Colony. I would love to have some windows that are a little higher up, maybe that people can't see through from the ground level, but for right now, we're leaving these with no windows on this side of the branch. We have not done a lot of work yet on the floor plan, but this is just a rough rendering showing the square footage as well as the total footprint. You see there's about an additional 6,000 square feet that encompass this outdoor reading room, as well as the kind of outdoor patios and walkways that are around the edge of the branch. But we, of course, would be planning to do a full service library on par with the branch we just opened at Hialeah Gardens, which includes a U-Media digital space, a lot more room for technology, computers, and much larger multi-purpose room in this branch. 9,000 is a nice size, but we still think that the 2-story version is the way to go and will allow us to offer the village more services and opportunities for activating this location. Just about building height. So this building, the 1-story version, is 30 feet. The existing location is 26 feet. So 4 feet higher. So I'm going to jump into the 2-story version. Looks very similar, but it has a little bit of a different undulating pattern on these exterior fins. It's kind of architectural feature, which is a really nice look. Nice view from the lower corner. Another shot from across the street. Same thing, existing footprint. View from the pond side. And this also has a similar front porch feature to it that you can lead up to the walkway and walk around the front patio into the main entrance. This version also has the exterior reading area. Once again, this is only facing Crandon Boulevard. The rest of it is enclosed by the rest of the building. Outdoor area, some seating. People will be able to enjoy the outdoors a little bit as part of the branch. The aerial view, the 2-story version. And similar here, we did some exterior shots with Google Earth. A little bit, some pieces of it going above the tree line. The shot from that pool deck. And this floor plan, allows us to get to an entire 17,112 square feet between the two floors. That's area that's undercover. We haven't done a lot of work on filling up the boxes inside the library yet with the various services and programs we want to do. But one thing we do want to do with the second floor is really leave it open for a lot of flexibility in the community space that's up there. In our kind of initial renderings, we're showing 3 community room areas up here. This can be for anything from STEAM programming for teams to tutoring to any number of programs, events that we could do there. And obviously right now in the current branch, we really only have 1 meeting room, which is a very small, 800 to 1,000 square foot meeting room. This well surpasses that. And this also allows for kind of an outdoor reading area on the second floor. And once again, on the second floor, this whole thing is enclosed to Key Colony. There's no open area to Key Colony on the rooftop or any other area. So this piece here, this outdoor reading area, faces Crandon Boulevard. Height, we go up to 40 feet. So existing branch 26, the replacement 1-story version is 30 feet. This would take us to 40 feet high with the 2-story version. So in closing, just a couple of items. Our plan is that this project will be fully funded by the county. I know in some earlier discussions on this project 5 years ago, there were some discussions about cost share and with the village and things like that. We do not have any plans to ask the village for funding. I think that we're able to do this, and we've identified the funding for the project. I also want to clarify that this, with the deed restriction we have on the property that was so generously given to us by Fritz Scherenberg, we only plan library uses, and no other county uses are being considered, just things that are ancillary to the library. We are not planning a rooftop event space or a nightclub. We're not going to go 6 stories high. I just bring these up because they come up from time to time. If we could build 6 stories, I don't really have the money to do that anyway, so that would be very expensive. So we're looking at 2 stories as a maximum. And like I said, this will significantly increase the amount of public space we have if we go with the 2-story version. I think it's a beautiful design that was done by our architectural firm. I think this would be a nice amenity on the Key. I think it will improve the area around it with the way it looks. And I think it will significantly expand what we're able to provide to the residents on Key Biscayne in terms of services and programs. So that's it for me, and I look forward to going forward on this and looking forward to collaborating, communicating as we go forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. And if I could wrap up really quick. Ray is lovely. I know that this has been a little contentious. As you guys know, the litigation has been going on since 2019. We really believe that with this design, we can put some of the misconceptions that Ray mentioned to bed. I know that in Key Biscayne, there's concerns about other government entities because of what's been happening with the city of Miami. The county is not the city of Miami, right? We have county-wide policies and we are very protective in terms of maintaining uniformity, especially with our library system. As you guys know, our library system is separate and apart, and it thrives from a tax that in part comes from property taxes. So it's not a space that we can rent out or utilize for anything other than a library, right? And you can see that all across Miami-Dade County. If we were to allow something like that, it would dramatically change our ability to fund, maintain, operate, and also impact all of the libraries in Miami-Dade County. So the fact that this structure is going to be in Key Biscayne makes it no different from all the libraries all over Miami-Dade County and their uses. I think the only big difference is that, as Ray was saying, the space that you have now has been there for a very long time. It has served the Key, but it has not grown with the Key. And I don't think that it provides the Key bless its children with the opportunity to really participate in the library system that the rest of the children in Miami-Dade County get to participate. So we really hope to have your support. We don't want your money. We just want to be your partner. We want you to support us in our conversations with Key Colony and with the residents. Like Ray mentioned, this is the beginning of a process. You know, we think that we're offering something that's beautiful and that's useful. We're going to keep the natural areas next door, which are lovely. And we know that, you know, they're important. So I think all in all, it's a wonderful project, and it's something that we would love to partner with you in, just so that we can provide the residents of Key Biscayne with a library deserving of the contribution that they make to Miami-Dade County.
Well, thank you very much for this. I know, you know, Ray, you've been through the ringer, and Commissioner, you've jumped in, and thank you for all the work you've been doing to try and get this move forward. I really think we need to do something. Frank wanted me to apologize. He had to step out, but he's been working this longer than I have. So I'm certainly in support of moving something forward. I know you have a meeting with the Key Colony folks tomorrow. Anything I can do to move this along, the village appreciates your efforts, and we want to work with you, and we want to get this going.
Well,
Can we ask some questions?
Yes, of course. I was just going to say that. Yeah, of course. And I was just going to say, I worked with Frank on Mast Academy. So you guys wanted a high school, we got a high school, and now I want to get you a library. And
there you go. Okay. Councilmember Segarola, and then Councilmember Laredo. Did you want to say something after? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I have three questions, but the first two, I think the mayor might just have answered them. My question number one is, has this been run by Key Colony? Question number two is, if it had, what their feedback was so far.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
We have the meeting with them tomorrow.
Okay. And question number three, I understand your preference is for 2 stories, but you also have a 1-story alternative. Who or whom will make that final decision?
Well, right now, the only thing that's holding us back is the litigation with Key Colony. We have to have meetings with the neighbors and take their feedback and see what people want. I don't know, Ray, if you want to add more to that process.
Commissioner, I think that about covers it. You know, we did the 2 options just in case we had nowhere else to go with a 1, but we definitely believe that the 2 will just have a lot better bang for the buck and provide better programs and services without really having a negative impact on the aesthetics for the neighbors. So we're really thinking too, yeah.
I understand, but let's say the neighbors all say, no, we want 1. Can the county override that preference and just say, no, we're putting in 2? Or will the neighbor's preference be the overriding factor? Or is there some other factor?
Well, listen, I could take, the money that we have to do this project, we could go and build a library somewhere else in District 7. That we could actually do that, right?
Thank you for.
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, right? I would prefer to do it in Key Biscayne. I would prefer to provide you with a space that you can grow into. If we meet with folks and absolutely no one wants to consider the 2-story model, sure, we can give you a smaller library, but we will also be very clear on the fact that you won't see anything change for 30 years, right? So you're kind of stuck with your smaller library. So as the county, we want to provide you with a space that you can grow into if everyone is against it. But right now, our first hurdle is Key Colony because of the deed restriction. And then we'll take it to the community and see what people have to say.
Okay. Councilmember Laredo, and then Councilmember Moss.
Yeah. Commissioner Regalado, besides or beyond the normal thank you that you normally get, I have to say, I don't know where you've been with us the rest of our lives, because you have been in 6 months the most amazing commissioner for Key Biscayne that I can remember since it was founded. I'm in shock at how far you've taken us on things, and that we're sitting here with an actual rendering of something we've talked about, which we do a lot here in Key Biscayne, a lot of talking, a lot of studying, a lot of consulting. is to me just stunning, effective public service. God bless you that we have you as our representative in that difficult county commission.
Thank you. But on this
one,
all the credit goes to Ray, who's been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, we'll give credit to whoever you want, but I give it to you, okay? Yeah, but I know how it works, and you're special, and we're lucky to have you. And you also answer questions plainly, like you did, Segurola, that most of us who did not pay attention enough because of his own presentation, it will cost our city, our village, absolutely nothing. I want to repeat, the county will pay for it in entirety. Just in case you missed that, I repeated the third time, this is the county's contribution. And if we don't take it, you go somewhere else. I want to just ask you 2 quick questions, Ray. It requires a very quick answer. You maintaining the back entrance?
Yes. Same being the parking lot entrance.
Okay, and second, Ray,
yeah.
Second, are you maintaining the integrity of the beloved gardens that have been cared for by our citizens and the pond?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Then this is a no-brainer. Is there a way that you can drop on the name the words branch, or is that something you have to put in everywhere?
Don't have to have it there.
Okay, I suggest you do. It'll go Key Biscayne Library.
Okay.
And I prepared to take a motion to approve on the first. Well, Mayor, I'm gonna the sense
Yes,
the commission. We're known for not making decisions. A sense of the council as they go to proper deliberations.
Let's let everybody else speak. I understand. Let's let everybody speak.
I'll make a motion. If it dies, it dies.
Okay.
I'll wait for the end. That we, in principle, approve this moving forward with the proper things that are going on for the two-story model, which I think will best serve our needs.
Councilmember Moss.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner, for your hard work. I think, and also Ray, for your hard work as well. I know you've been putting a lot of time into this. I think it's a great step forward. I do support that we update our library, and I think this is a great path that we found. I know we've been all talking about this for many years, and it finally looks like we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we can make it there. One thing I would like to add, and I don't know if it's too late, but it looks like we're still in early schematic design. These are conceptual drawings that you're showing. I would love to maybe sit down with you and give you a little bit of input as an architect that lives in Key Biscayne and understands the area very well. I'd love to sit down with you and give maybe a little bit of feedback. One thing I did notice in the building is that, we do have a garden on the north side of the building with a beautiful pond. I think it's an opportunity that we should probably capture to open the building more towards the park, to integrate the park into the actual building itself, if possible. And, maybe not, I don't know if the west side is the best area for the entrance, but, it's something that, I can guide you, kind of give you some feedback of what I know about the area and how people use the library. And, maybe some adjustments could be made and maybe you can help guide the architects as well.
Be happy to reach out to you, Councilman Moss, to discuss.
Excellent. Thank you.
Councilmember London.
Hey, you're muted.
Okay, now, again, thank you very much, both of you. Really appreciate all you've done for us. One quick question. Is there any provision for either car parking, bicycle parking, scooter parking on the property, or is no space available for that?
Well, right now the parking stays the same. Ray, bicycle and scooter, we could probably find some space once we flush out like which building we're going to go with and the size and sort of where we put it. We got to make sure it doesn't block pedestrians or the pathway in. But there might be some spaces on either side of the buildings. You can see from the drawings that there's like a little bit of space. But we got to figure that out with the landscaping later on. But I think that comes after we decide which version we go with. No, Ray?
Yeah, that, and also this, as Mr. London mentioned, this is conceptual design, and we'll be able to work more at that level of detail as we get, a little bit further in. So we'll put that on there as a note to see what we can incorporate into an updated version of this going forward.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember McCormick.
I just wanted to chime in and say thank you. And I think everyone's raised some really good points. I don't really have much to add, but I did want to say that this is super exciting. After seeing this conversation about a library go on for a really long time and in so many different directions, it's very, very exciting. And I also have to chime in. I love the "we don't want your money" part. I thought was maybe the best part of the presentation, but it looks beautiful, and I am really excited for the community. I hope that we can get this moving. So thank you for coming and for all of this tireless work. I know Councilmember Petros is watching, and I know Frank will happily watch this when he gets back. So a lot of people have worked a really, really long time on this. And so thank you to all of you, and certainly to the Commissioner Regalado and to Ray for all this hard work. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now I would second Councilmember Laredo's move to get some impetus behind us. I want to see this moving.
Call the question.
All right, call the question, Jocelyn. All those in favor and supporting as a count?
Aye. All those in favor and supporting the two-story building?
Supporting the library moving, the county's library project moving forward at this time.
That's better.
Supporting the county's library project moving forward.
We can't hear you.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. Okay, now, with regard to this motion, I just want to make an observation. I respect the spirit behind the motion, but I'm not prepared to decide one way or the other until there's input from our...
That's fine. That's fine. The question's been called respectfully.
Okay.
Let's go.
Mayor, under our rules, this is listed as a presentation. So for you to take action,
I can't hear anyone right now.
Okay, everybody can hear each other. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I don't think this is considered to be dispositive action. You're just taking a supporting motion on it.
Supporting motion, correct.
Would the council want to bring a resolution that you adopt that you then send to the county commission?
Perfect.
Or not?
Look,
would that be something that you'd like to do at a later date? That's all I'm asking. I know what you're going to say.
I know,
but I'm just...
we tie ourselves up in knots. We have people who are in office for 5 months. They bring us an extraordinary gift.
We're trying.
Take a motion. Take a motion.
The answer is what I call, my other experience is probably like a sense of the council.
We understood.
Okay.
A sense of the council that we want to move. For example, Moses' comments are exactly what I would like. I felt the same way that
we've had a motion.
But let's get it moving because we need to support her.
Motion to support the county moving forward on a new library on Key Biscayne.
Call the question.
Aye.
Nay.
So my question was, would you like us to bring a resolution forward for you guys to send to the county commission, which would usually be something that the councils would want to do?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Yes.
Okay.
Please
Right.
bring that to the next meeting.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you again, Commissioner, and thank you, Ray. We really appreciate this. We're excited to get this project going.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and thank you for your support. We'll keep you posted. We're going to be meeting with Key Colony tomorrow, and then we'll let you know what the next steps are. All right.
Super. All right. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. All right. No, not at this time. We'll have further conversations, but this is a special. It was just a special presentation. Now we've got our next special presentation. I had added this, and I apologize. I brought this to the clerk's attention before the meeting, but not in time for the hearing. We just have a young gentleman here who would like to present to us. Santiago Dillon would like to talk to us about skate parks. So I wanted to offer him the opportunity to present his ideas. I think it's particularly in light of last night. I think it's a relevant presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all of you, councilmen, councilwoman, and Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to start off by talking about some of the struggles that we go through in the city of Key Biscayne as skaters. We're looked down upon a lot because of our image. How people talk about us. And I think people talking negatively just makes us want to improve our image. And we've been working, me and all my friends, on a petition. Yesterday it reached 1,500 signatures. And I'd like to bring it up here for discussion. So what a skate park could mean to us as residents and the youth, it could bring everyone in the community like a lot closer together. Project ideas, create events, make everyone really realize how close of a community this is. And that's really important because a community is all about discussion and communication. There's a skate park down in downtown called Lot 11 Skate Park. It was constructed in November of 2019. And since that day, all of Miami has become a better community, especially the skateboarding community. A lot of teenagers, older people, women, men, anyone goes. And there's no judgment there. It's a free space, safe space, and everyone enjoys their time there. I think that would be a great use of space here in Biscayne, especially with our park here at 530 Clarendon Boulevard, sitting there at our disposal. And I think we need to take action and put it to good use. As for the location, we are very open to suggestion. We don't have anything for sure. Our most liable option and what we think the best option is 530 Clarendon Boulevard. There is also the park on Harbor Drive, 599 and 571. Up on the presentation, you can see a design one of my friends made. This is just nearly a sketch, something that could show what it would look like around in the Key Biscayne community. I would like to talk about a company that was crucial in the building of the skate park in downtown. It's called Skate Free. They're based on bringing everyone together of any distinct culture or race and giving them a skate park to have a fun time in. I believe bringing the community together at a skate park, especially here, with all the problems that are happening with the teens and the youth regarding the topic of skateboarding, I think it could really clarify what it means to be a skateboarder and the culture of skateboarding. Skate Free has a lot of good leaderships. I've recently met one of their CEOs and their founders, Rich Jeffs and Daniel Fonsalita. They're two really important people, especially in the skateboarding industry, but they have a lot to do with the Miami community. Here on the presentation, there's just two examples. The one on the right is the one in downtown. The one on the left is in California. It's called El Sereno. It's a communal project. There's another example of one in Miami, but fortunately it's been removed due to lack of funds. Andrew Skate Plaza used to be in Design District. The other one here is Lion's Head. It's in Vail, Colorado. Just another image for what it could look like. The how of how this could be made was the option of Skate Free. They build a lot of skate parks, and I've been in contact with the owner, as I said, and I've showed them the property value, and they've explained to me a couple of options they have. They also built Hallover Skate Park, which is up by Ball Harbor, and that had a huge impact on their community as well. Brought a lot of people together, caused a lot of events, and just made everyone a little bit happier. Another reason why I think this is crucial here is there's a lot of slander and squatter about the skateboarders and private properties. And obviously, skateboarders don't want to get into trouble, but they don't have a safe space to go to, just like the kiteboarders here on the beach in between Oceana and Key Colony. They don't have a safe space. Well, they do, but they're not really familiar with it, and they don't like it, and they don't have anywhere to go. And I relate to that a lot because that's where I live, and I want to take care of my community, but skateboarding is part of my community, and well, we don't have anywhere to go. Skateboarding teaches a lot of life skills. To me, persistence and determination are the top two. Another life lesson is how to lose and how to win. You need to pick and choose your battles, and you need to execute them with measurement, of course. Also, skateboarding has recently been inducted into the Olympics in Tokyo 2021. A lot of youth has been picking up the sport of skateboarding as healthy exercise, to way to get out of the house, especially with Corona that's been happening. You have a lot more time on your hands. You have a lot more time to be dedicated to a sport. And skateboarding is all about dedication. And I think it's a healthy culture that could grow in our community. Also, the communal space could provide council or a space of like to better the relationship of the youths and the citizens among Key Biscayne. It's a place of no judgment, so anyone can go and express their art in the way they feel, and anyone can support you. There's also the concern of safety. Due to the safety hazards with being on not only private property, but maybe in the village green or in the sidewalks, that's just not built for skateboarding. And you're gonna run into hazards when skateboarders are going somewhere where they're not supposed to be skateboarding, or where it's not built to be skateboarding, because you're gonna have an issue. Someone's gonna fall, someone's gonna break a wrist. But I believe if we build the proper facilities, that is a lot less likely to happen, and people can be trained in a better way. In the petition that I created, I had a lot of supporting comments, a lot of resident mothers, sons of them, kids my age. A great one that I took a comment, or not a comment, quote, not from my petition, but someone that I ran to the supermarket in the other day. And it was, if your community doesn't have a skate park, your community becomes a skate park. And I think that's not only an important quote, but it's a very loud one. And it rings around the room because a lot of businesses in the Square Mall, in the church, and in Dixie, there's been a lot of complaints recently about skateboarders and the destruction of property, but it's not our point. We don't want to go and get in trouble or make someone feel bad because we're hurting their property, or like make them go repaint their stairs. Like that's not our purpose in life. We just want to have fun. We want to do the sport that we like, and we want to bring the community together in a healthy way. I don't really have anything else to say, but thank you for giving me your time, for listening. It's super important to me and to my friends, and hopefully we work out the issue and find a way to make this work.
All right.
Thank you.
Any questions? Mayor? Yeah, Councilmember Segarola.
I don't really have a question for you. I just want to say I greatly appreciate you coming up here and saying all this stuff. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I've seen the skate park downtown. I've seen the skate park in Hallover, and frankly, they're really nice. They're really cool looking too. I think it could add a lot to the community. My only disagreement would be that I don't think 530 Crandon would be a place for it, but I would be completely open to finding another location on Key Biscayne where we can do something, a really nice facility that would also add the Key Biscayne flavor to a skate park. So I'd love to hear more about this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moss and then Councilmember McCormick.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for coming up here and speaking, and you speak very well too. So congratulations, speak better than I do.
Thank you.
True.
Yeah, it is true, right? Very well, eloquent. But you know, I've always been a supporter. I have nephews and nieces that skateboard. I talk to them all the time. They're always talking to me about, you know, why don't we have a place? We try to bring something. I brought something forward maybe 3 years ago, which was the pump track. And we did design in the 530 park a permanent pump track that would be made out of concrete. So it'd be easier to do different type of tricks on it and stuff like that you guys could use it for. And maybe it could develop into something else. But one of the ideas about 530 was that the location is actually, I think, more ideal to have it in a place like this. But a large one that you showed on there, I don't think would fit on there. And I think that we need to use it in that park in a multi-use. But the benefit of having it there is that it's close to the community center, the police station, the fire station, everything is here, right? It's not out and away from everything, which, I think is an interesting thing to have that activates the park and also has close, a lot of people there and see what's going on at the same time. So, I agree. I think a lot of skateboards are getting unfairly treated, skateboarders, because, people think they're bad or something like that. And a lot of them are, my nephew and niece are straight A students and it's what they like to do. And we run around saying we need to find activities for, teenagers and kids to do, but then we don't want to do something like that. So I think it's something we do need to seriously discuss. And I do appreciate for you coming up and talking about it.
Showed for that design, we actually got the square footage of that space and we measured it so that it would leave an area for benches or seating arrangements, so it could also be like a communal space, so senior citizens could sit, they could watch, the younger youth or brothers and sisters of people that are skating there or rollerblading, scootering, whatever they want to do, bikes, it's open for everyone. So like it's not only a skate park, but I think of it as just like a place to sit down and like just reconnect with your community. Skate park obviously is important to the space, but it's more of like reconnecting the community and making everyone happy. That's more important.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just beautiful. They have so much fun. Everybody is super considerate, and there's people from I saw in the 60s all the way down to 6, 5. I mean, my son's 6 years old is having a blast down there. So they're all age groups down there, and it was great. But we do have to consider, multiple uses. I think a 530 couldn't be only a skate park, and I'm glad that you're thinking about that if we would use it. But if we can't use 530, it's fine. I'm open to looking for other places as well. So. Thank you,
McCormick.
So it sounds like we're not going to need to talk about this later when I put it on the agenda because people are commenting about it now. But I wanted to start by thanking Santi for coming tonight and for this extremely well thought out presentation. And I know you've been passionate about this for a long time. I think it was even one of the reasons you joined the Youth Council. And he's been really working towards that. So thank you. And, you and I have talked about skate parks since I think the first time I ran for council. And, the issue in Key Biscayne has always been space. This has been the biggest issue. And I think Lot 11's amazing. I think it's probably a little more than Key Biscayne really can offer or needs to offer. But I would certainly be open to trying to figure out some way to incorporate something. I read in a chat that someone was saying, there is this amazing skate park right nearby. Why don't they just go there? And really the age group that we've been struggling with and that we had a whole meeting about last night is an age group that doesn't drive. So to have something to offer them to do, and right now, especially outside and COVID safe, I think is very important. I thought back, like I was here with Brett for the discussions when we brought the pump track in, the temporary pump track. And I don't know if you remember, Brett, or Frank, when the pump track, when like our lease was up, I think it was, there was an opportunity at that time from the same company to rent a temporary skate park. And we could have put it at 530 while we were still developing the lot for the park that had been planned. And so when I saw Santi recently and he mentioned this, his petition, and I said, we'll talk to the mayor, you should make a presentation like this weekend. So I called Todd and said, like, is that still available? And so today I spoke with Todd and he said, it isn't, but that he may have an opportunity for another one. So the reason I put my agenda item later, and again, I do apologize because I know that we don't like to do things at the last minute, but it seemed like in light of seeing Santi this weekend and then last night's meeting and then tonight that it just seemed to make some sense to just sort of take the temperature of the council to see if it makes sense to ask Todd and the manager to pursue this idea of, I don't know if they'll find somewhere to put it. I don't know if it's even really a viable idea, and it's clearly not my expertise, but to look into this concept of maybe bringing something temporary for a few months, maybe over the summer months, if they can find somewhere safe and appropriate to place it. It would obviously come before us at least a few times before any decisions are made. But it strikes me that with all the residents that are asking about having opportunities for kids to do things, and especially in the summer, and the concerns about indoor use of the community center, that maybe it seemed like a good idea. So I wanted to, I jumped ahead to the end of the agenda. I'm sorry about that, but that was what I wanted to talk about tonight. We could talk about it later, but I tend to do that where I get ahead of myself. But I'll wrap up by just saying, Santi, thank you very much. And this is something that I think we as the council have been trying to promote, of seeing kids take initiative to identify issues they see in the community and offer solutions. And so wherever this goes, I thank you for taking all of this time and effort to bring this to us.
Councilmember London and then Councilmember Laredo. Councilmember London.
Is it still possible? Is it not too late to consider fitting a skate park, maybe not as large as you'd like, into the 530? We haven't started construction. And if you had an activity that would use it rather than a passive park or just a totally passive park, I really believe it would really serve the community much better than the design we have right now. So I'd like to basically, I guess, talk to Todd or Jake or whoever be involved in this thing to talk to the architect or the contractors and find out, is it possible to fit in a park within 530 and still come out with it, excuse me, and still come up with a passive area for people to use. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Councilmember Laredo.
Thank you, Santi. That was an extraordinary presentation. Let me just say briefly, A, I support the concept. B, I am absolutely against it in 530. I am quite surprised that we continue to make decisions that we then, at the 11th hour, change. I don't know how anybody can manage this village. We spent a lot of time on 530. We discussed this issue and we just approved the rendering. So I am 100%, so you're clear, against 530. However, I believe the concept is very good and we will try to find, like Segurola said, a space for it. We actually have preliminary plans to expand the community center and that area that is hedges near where the kids parks is. And that, you know, I would support moving to find you a good location, but I would not want to create an expectation, at least for one councilman, that we would now change our plans again to accommodate. There is another segment of this community that is not youth and that purchased and paid for the village green, and their joy is walking and reading, and we have now eliminated, Santi, that at all, because we've now have, that's 100% playing fields. So you have to be sensitive that older people are also looking for spaces, but I'm very supportive of what you're doing. And that's very responsible that you did this. It's fabulous. This is the kind of engagement we need so that we don't have any problems. So count on my support.
Oh, no. Councilmember Kaplan.
I'm sorry I missed your presentation, but I'm here. I'm here now. I had, I think, two questions. And the first was the pump track that was installed at 530, if you remember that particular facility, is that a skate park as you conceive it to be?
No.
No.
Can I? Since he was looking at me when he said it.
The answer's
Thank you.
no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Santi just said no. So
I know, but there was something more that I wanted to remind Frank about when we talked about the first time.
I'm looking to be reminded.
So when we first looked at it, we talked about doing more of like this temporary skate park that Todd could have gotten, or the pump track. And Brett liked the pump track idea. We went with the pump track idea. But what we saw was that it was awesome and people loved it. I do think after a while the novelty wore off, but it didn't meet the age group that we were really trying to serve. The pump track was really, really fun for younger kids or people on bikes or on scooters. Maybe people went around it on a skateboard, but I think what they want, and I'm going to try to sound cool, which I'm not, are like things like these bulls, whatever. Other things that they can perform tricks on. I won't try to be cool then.
Thank you.
So other things.
That actually leads to my second memory prompt, which was that the pump track at 530 lost its luster after a while. But the point is that that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is, I think there's one in Coconut Grove that I don't remember exactly where.
But my idea isn't like a space or a strip of land. It's like you pave the whole ground. You put there's called ledges in our terminology, which if you look at any bench, it's what it'll look like, just a little flat surface.
Or railings for stairs, or
like a little coping, some stairs, a railing, stuff like that.
Right.
Like natural things that you find in malls or in front of a business. Those are like the spots that skaters tend to skate and that they're put into skate parks. So that's what would qualify as a skate park and not like a pump track or a bowl or a mini ramp. They all have like different classifications. But it's also like very hard the way of designing it, because I know a little bit about the design of skate parks, and even I can't even make one that's good. There's also professionals in doing that and designing skate parks and clearing the land and building these obstacles, because it's not the job for everyone, I would say. It takes a lot of like professional knowledge about this topic, I guess.
So the idea is to have an opportunity to go vertical and then scrape along something for a while and then go up and down.
Yeah.
Look, Allison said something about what we're trying to do to help create healthy activities and
agreed
and find balance to serve the interests of various groups. We were persuaded a couple of years ago that this is one of those interests, and we should try to find a way to accommodate it.
Councilmember Cigarelli, you had a second point?
Yeah. As Councilmember Laredo said, we just decided what to do with 530 Crandon after 18 years. Let's not reopen that.
Nobody.
And start changing the plans. We decided it's in the center of the village. It's going to be a flexible space for the civic center and all kinds of things. And a skate park will take place. Will take up too much space. If we're looking to do something temporary for the summer, I have absolutely no problem with that. Right off the top of my head, and maybe this will be controversial or not, we got the new Harbor Park, which my understanding is severely underused. Yes, it is more in a residential area, but nobody's using it. If there's something we can do temporary there and it's a large space, that's an option. Or we can find some other place. But 530.
Put your items off. We're taking your item off. Okay. All right. I'm not having this again 7 times tonight. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
know
just
I'm not.
wanted
Go
to
ahead,
add,
Councilmember.
I think that what I was hoping to say, and I even wrote it out when I finally got to my item before jumping the gun, I think that what's the best move right now for us, my suggestion would be that we kick this to the manager and Todd to work through it, to see if they can come up with ideas for a good temporary space, to see if the temporary facility is even available, to maybe try something for the summer to take the temperature of the community. And then they come back to like not make any decisions other than to say, can you guys explore this? And that's, I think, where I am.
Go ahead.
I'll make it quick.
You can go after him.
Just keep one other area that. Am I muted? Okay, yeah, hear myself talking. One other place that I would definitely look at is the beach park. We have a long open area, so it's another place to look at.
Can't use the beach park for active activity. We've been through that 17,000. You want to talk about a place we've talked about?
Well, good luck finding a place.
Let's just ask them to look into this and come back to us so we don't take over our home meeting.
Yes, Councilmember Laredo, one more point, and then maybe I'll say something, and then we'll get out of here.
Sorry it's taking a long time, but it came as a surprise.
I know.
And here we are. We have a 2040 Vision Commission. We funded it for $165,000.
Well,
Ready to not only make a quick decision, but undo other decisions. This is
sorry.
530 has to be
your proposal.
In fact, I think 530 as a temper is a bad move because
then they'll be comfortable there. And then we're going to have, after, I don't know, my 18 years of talking about 530, we finally decided is going to open up a whole bunch of questions. I already said what a lot of people who are underserved that are not kids. I am with you 100%. I'm with you guys because I think you're a bright star. And by the way, a lot of responsibility because, you know, we've had some problems with some people, but the type of people like you is going to fix this, not the police. I really need to just lock down 5:30, period. And we will do all we can to accommodate you temporarily. At least I will, and the rest of us. But these are blank check kind of things. Let's review it again. It leaves a big loophole for reopening 5:30.
Nobody's.
And I think I know, but I've been here now almost 2 years, and I know how all of a sudden things get misinterpreted. That's why I'm making motions so that it's not consensus. 5:30 is locked down.
Noted. We noted. It's noted. I mean, I noted it.
And make sure, Madam Clerk, that your sanitized minutes reflect what I just said, and it's noted.
It's noted.
That 5:30 is off this proposal.
Well, nobody's making anything. The manager's been directed to sort of think up some clever ideas, talk to Todd, come back to us, and that's where we're going to go from here. I want to thank you for your.
You're evading the issue again.
But Mr. Mayor, you're evading the issue again. He can talk all he wants, but not off 30.
5:30 is not.
5:30 is not in his conversation.
That's Hey,
so then you want to reverse your vote?
Huh? I can't believe we're one time together and we're going like this. Relax. If you don't want to vote for 5:30, if he comes back and says, I want to consider 5:30, at that point, we'll have a vote on it. We're not
Mr.
making
Mayor,
any
we're
votes
back
today.
to where we started 2 years
exactly
ago.
Right.
Listen to me. First of all, you bring an item without the courtesy of notifying some of us. Okay, first of all, I let you go. It is not a minor item.
Nobody's coming
listen
with 5:30.
To me, Mr. Mayor, listen to me. I listen to you and you're pounding. Second of all, this council made a decision to finish 5:30 after 18 years of a lot of people working hard to get it done. Achieved. Third of all, Mr. Mayor, we have a board, a very distinguished board called 24 Ambition, which we funded to look at us strategically. And all of a sudden, at the last minute, we're going to make changes that are structurally destructive to the view of this committee. So if we have a major disagreement, and if you want to cut the conversation, then don't bring the issue off the cuff. This is important. Mr. London, you voted for 5:30, did you not? Okay, so you want to reverse your vote? I see.
No.
You're going to reverse your vote. You want to be with everybody.
Guys, enough. This is silly.
Unfortunately, you
Councilmember
into a trap. But I appreciate what you're doing.
Santi, thank you for doing what you did. We really appreciate it. Let's move on to the next issue. Thank you.
We'll hope to be as mature as you are soon.
Hold.
Move. One typo on the special meeting, the zoning. There's a sentence that sort of cuts off in the paragraph under public comments. I think possibly, Madam Clerk, you meant to say last week, but I'm not sure. No. Yeah. Fourth sentence, closing an investigation regarding a crime, and then it sort of loses grammar. Before Council Member McCormick, right before her name.
Where's this?
It says a crime from LAS period, and that's all it says in my copy. I think you might have meant to say last week, but I'm not sure.
This is May 6th?
Yes. Under public comments, before the word Council Member McCormick.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So if you fix that.
Yeah, from last week. That's right.
Madam Clerk? I phoned into you several changes, remember? I dictated to you over the phone. Changes on May 6th, remember? You were in the conference.
What were they? Perfect.
All right, so motion to approve April 29.
As amended, yeah,
And you're going to pull May 6th.
correct.
Aye. Would your, Madam Clerk, your minutes will reflect that I'm recusing myself and leaving the room. The reason that I'm doing so is because I have a professional relationship with one of the firms in my law practice. I represent one of the firms that is selected in 2 separate categories, so I'm leaving to not participate.
I'm comfortable with you staying.
It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate.
No, not at all. No, it would be completely.
Okay.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, selecting various consultants pursuant to request for qualifications number 2021-08 for continuing architectural and engineering services, providing for authorization, and providing for an effective date.
I move it.
I'm sorry, who moved it?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Councilmember London, you're recognized.
Yes, we're going to select 2. I suggest, since we have at least the most categories, more than 2, we have 3.
Councilmember London, you're muted.
No, he's
Michael,
not.
you keep doing that.
No, I did it before, but you're not muted now. Or...
Anyway, what I'm saying is that the idea is to negotiate with the number 1. If we can't reach an agreement with him, go to number 2. And my thought is at least have 3 people, because once you get to number 2, the guy couldn't get number 1. He's now number 2. He really is in a pretty good negotiating position. If he knows he doesn't negotiate well with you, you can go to number 3. I think you're in a much better position from a business standpoint. So I would suggest we have 3 instead of 2. I mean, use the same ranking. I'm not saying change anything. I'm saying keep the first 3, and in every category we have 3. That's all.
Mr. Manager?
That is our recommendation. So these pools actually have a total of 3. The only ones that do not is if you look at the mechanical and engineering, and then also sustainability and consulting. All the other have 3 contractors within each pool.
Yes, but the point that I was saying, we were only going to basically have 2 tonight, say the top 2. And I'm saying select all 3 in each category, so that if you can't negotiate with 1, you get to 2. He doesn't think, okay, he has a deal, because if there's nobody built behind him, okay? But at least have 3, that's all.
No, our recommendation is that we do, if you turn the next page, if you turn those 3 in each category are part of the pool. So we have 3 in every category except 2.
I understand, but in the first part said in 2, that was all. Anyway, no problem.
Councilmember London, I think the resolution does say we're going to negotiate agreements with these, but I think Jake maybe can speak. I think there's actually more people that applied to these that we would be able to go to.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Manager. Chad is correct. We had multiple respondents to our solicitations, and we shortlisted top 3. And it's our recommendation to Council to authorize the manager to negotiate hourly rates for top 3 select firms. And there is no work guarantee. This is basically procedural CCNA solicitation. There is no work guarantee. We're not giving anybody work, but in case as the work comes up in the near future, this is the pool of consultants that we may tap into.
Like very distinguished tonight, Jake.
It's his birthday.
Aye.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, supporting the village manager's administrative policy requiring facial coverings and social distancing consistent with the CDC guidelines as amended while indoors on village property and providing for an effective date.
Move second.
Yeah, Mayor, before the manager jumps in, I just want to make a mention that the manager did update his policy subsequent to the CDC guidance. The resolution in your backup has not been updated, so any motion will have to be as amended to match the updated policy.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
And should I read it to the record?
Well, why don't
go ahead?
Why don't you explain what yeah, because I think a lot of people. I think we had some people calling in today because they were. But why don't you explain? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. No, I appreciate the opportunity. And as you know, over the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of changes in guidance coming both from the governor and also the CDC guidelines. Taking those into consideration, what we have presented as our administrative policy is to strongly encourage the use of facial coverings and social distancing consistent with the CDC guidelines while on village property until further notice. We also continue to require certain measures to preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the village council, village employees, and the public we serve at specific village facilities, events, and activities. And what that means is across the entire village, we encourage the use of facial coverings and social distancing. However, for specific events, if necessary, if we find it to the best of public health and public safety, we will have the ability to make that decision to make those rules specific to that event.
I'm sorry, there was a motion to amend the resolution, and that was first. All those in favor of
what? Okay, Councilmember Secretary, I was going to say, does anybody have any comment? Okay.
Bridge, you're specifically not saying require. So what if somebody refuses? Number one, that's question number one. Number two, how is this not a violation of the governor's orders?
Sure, I'll take both. On the first one, if it's encouraged, so there's no law or anything, we're just a policy that we're encouraging.
So if someone decides
no penalties, nothing.
Okay, so if someone decides to walk into Village Hall or the community center or any public building and refuses to wear a mask, nothing can be done against them civilly or criminally.
That's the general policy that the manager has put forth. As the manager explained, depending on how the manager believes in the health and safety of the welfare of the public and the employees, that he may institute policies for certain public health safety measures at certain facilities of the government and programs. But when he does do that, he will provide notice, it'll be posted, but that's not his general policy that he's put forth at this point.
Okay, and if that does happen, will that come before the council?
That's at the discretion of the manager.
Okay, and what if the manager's decision violates the orders from Tallahassee?
Okay. So number one, I think we can kind of remove a discussion about the governor's order 101. It's not in effect until July, so we don't have to talk about it at this point. Mm-hmm. As far as 102, that emergency order deals with regulatory matters. What we're talking about here is the village acting in its proprietary capacity as a property owner. These are our government facilities, and the manager is instituting administrative policy on our government facilities as a property owner. So we need to separate ourselves from acting as a regulatory measure where we adopted an order requiring masks for all businesses. That's regulatory, right? Here, we are just instituting a policy on our government property, no different than wearing shoes and shirts, or you have to clean the gym equipment at the gym. These are all policies that we have done on our own property. That's consistent with how most governments that I'm aware of have reviewed 102, and I agree with that interpretation.
Okay, I understand that you're making the distinction between the government as an entity and the government as a property owner. Now, and that is the rationale behind whatever we're implementing. However, I don't see that differentiation in the governor's order. Well, so how did you come to that conclusion?
because the government's order was dealing with governments imposing restrictions on individuals in the private capacity. It wasn't when trying to limit us as a government our own property. And that conclusion, by the way, has been reached not by myself and my office, but by Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach County, Broward County, City of Miami, Coral Gables. I mean, every single city that I'm aware of, for the most part, has come to the same conclusion that we as a government acting in our proprietary measure have the right to provide policies on our government property. No different that if someone wants to come into our government offices and you don't have a right to come in and meet with the manager. The manager can set certain parameters within his office when people want to come in. It's a business. It's a government offices, and that's the way that we've interpreted, as well as many other governments across the state of Florida.
Okay, and then what happens July 1st when the other order kicks in?
Well, I would want to reserve until July 1st happens, because what the July 1st order does really is it's implementing the Senate bill that was passed by the legislature. So the interplay between the emergency order 101 was really a stopgap measure to really see what happens in July, because that's when the governor has express authority in the Florida statutes to do what he's doing right now. So I would like to hold off to see what happens July 1st. I don't know what the governor is going to do.
Because we may be able to hold off on this right now, but I think after this, we only have one more meeting before July 1st scheduled. That's the June meeting, June 19th, I think it is.
June 15th.
15th. So at that June 15th meeting, we're going to have to decide what the village is doing July 1st.
Well, I think the manager will keep you apprised. The manager, this is his administrative
We don't set this
policy.
we haven't set, we've backed whatever the manager has done throughout COVID. The manager establishes
But the manager establishes within the parameters of the law and the orders from Tallahassee. The orders from Tallahassee just changed, and the orders from Tallahassee will change again in a month and a half. And at the next meeting, we will have to discuss what we're going to do July 1st and on.
Well, I think that's up to the council and the manager and how you guys want to deal with it. But I mean, I think the manager has the authority to adopt administrative policy over the government buildings. He's bringing it to you as a council to support it. If you'd like him to bring something back, he can. But I mean, at this point, look, the manager's monitoring this real time. And
my position is, at this time, I like the use of the word encourage instead of require. I would ask the manager and you as the attorney to come back June 15th with a further development of this plan and whatever information we learn between now and then as to what could happen July 1st. Because yes, this is an evolving situation. But at the same time, I don't want the village to be in violation of any law or violating our citizens' rights. So for the time being, nothing's required. It's encouraged or strongly encouraged, however you want to phrase it, but we will have to deal with this much sooner rather than later.
To be clear, I'm not going to let the village violate those orders. So we are monitoring it. It's the council's purview. I don't, if the council wants to, direct the manager to bring it back, it's within the council's purview.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may, thank you. And Mr. City Attorney, thank you very much. Councilmember Segarula, we are watching this day by day. In fact, right now we are working very closely with Todd and Parks Department, because that's really where the community center is really the area that we need to really understand the best. This week, we will come up with the majority of the policies on how we want to move forward with the programs, each one of the facilities, as well as the events that we have following on from now. We can come back on June 15th. I'm not sure we're going to be able to tell you how that's going to be affected by July 31st. But what we can do on June 15th is express to you and explain to you what we've done in each one of our facilities, each one of our events, and for each one of our activities.
If I may add, this goes directly to the discussion item that I added of the community center reopening. I don't know if you want to discuss this now, same way.
No, we have a resolution. We have a resolution.
Right. Well, the resolution is directly regarding my discussion item. If you want to deal with it later, it's fine by me. But if you want to deal with it now, I'll deal with it also, because the community center is one aspect of the government. My personal feeling is we need to start opening up again. We need to start planning for getting back to normal, whatever version of normal that is. I'm encouraged by the language of encouraging face masks as opposed to requiring them. So the whole point of my discussion item was I would like to hear the plan of how we're reopening and how we continue reopening. This resolution applies not only to the community center, but to everything else. And part of the discussion I wanted was to have it here in an open forum so the public can listen to us and know what to expect if they showed up at the community center, or if they showed up at Village Hall, or if they showed up anywhere, whether the weight room at the community center is going to have restrictions on the number of people in there, if they have to wear masks. Are the basketball gyms going to be open? Are we reopening to, I believe right now the community center is only open to members through reservations. Are we reopening it to non-members that are residents, or non-members anywhere, or all those questions? What are we doing to reopen and to get back to normal? And this, of course, this resolution will be part of that, and how you implement it as manager.
Right, and we're working through that right now. And if I could, I'd bring the Parks Director up, and he can give you a general idea if we're going, or if you would prefer, Mr. Mayor, we'd wait for the.
I think it's fine. If everybody, do we have consensus that let's talk about it now because it's part of this issue, or do you want to wait? Let's go. Okay, you guys okay with having the discussion now? Fine, then let's do it.
If I could just clarify also for Councilmember Segura, the first part of the policy, I don't think you have any concern with because it's encouraging. What you're referring more to is the latter part, which is the part where the manager is reserving the ability to put in certain protective measures within government buildings. That's the part that you are raising.
And I understand your reservation for July 1st and after. So I guess my question with the empowering the manager to have discretion what to do between now and July 1st is, what are we going to do to reopen and to let the public know of their use of public facilities?
Just a point of order. We're not empowering. He has the power already.
Right.
We're not bestowing upon him any powers that he doesn't already have as our manager. Well, no, it's an important distinction, because we're not giving. He's coming and telling us what his policy is, and he just wants our support on that. And I think that's the important point.
That's exactly what I'm going to. I'd like to flesh out that policy, and also so the public can hear of what can they expect if they go to the community center tomorrow.
And I think what's important, council member, is we too want to get back to normal as quickly as we can. But we also, I believe we as the city or as the village have a responsibility to make sure we do this in a very deliberate manner. Across the country, we have about 50% are vaccinated. I understand we're about 70-75% in the village, and that's very, very positive. We're going to look at this in phases, and the phases between now and 1st of July, where we evaluate these new policies that the Parks Director is going to put in place. And we're going to continue to look at them step by step by step. Our goal, our hope, is to have everything back to normal if we don't see another spike at the beginning of school, which would be August 24th of this year. And that way we would slowly take the steps that we believe are in the best interest of public safety, as well as opening things up for people to use our facilities to the best of their ability.
And what is the plan specifically for the community center?
Why don't we have Todd come up? Because
Todd's got the details on it. And again, this is something we've been working on. It's not fully fleshed out, but it's just a general idea on the direction we're going.
Yeah, the manager and I met today, and basically what we're working on now is a three-phased approach. This would be the first phase that we're starting. We would be, as you know, the pool's open for reservations from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The weight room is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Basketball court 7:15 a.m. to 7:15 p.m. We've increased the number of people this last week that can use the court from.
So, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to ask questions before I forget.
Sure.
Can you tell us and tell the public what is the number of people that can use it at any given time? Each of those things.
Okay. Currently, it's one person per lane. We're looking at
for the swimming.
For swimming.
Okay.
We've increased to 30 in the weight room per time slot.
How long is each time slot?
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, in the gym, it's 90.
We're looking at going to the first proposal in the first phase is to go to 45 and see if that meets our demand. So let me jump back. We still have senior programming beginning. So far, it's been most successful in the hybrid fashion, where some people now are attending and some are still participating online. As you know, in August, we started all our outdoor youth athletics programs, and those have continued. As part of phase one, we're starting some of our indoor athletics programs. We're looking to do a indoor volleyball summer league.
The basketball, how long are the time slots and how many people per slot?
It's 50 minutes. It was 3-on-3 max. Now it's 5-on-5 max, which is a full game.
Is that per court or?
Per court, so that's 20 people.
20 people.
But going into the summer, you got to remember that now we're booking a lot of those times for camps, in the game room, and in the pool. So this is where the reservation system helps us, because when the camp's in the gym, it won't be available for rent. So it won't be like you and your 10 friends show up with the expectation to play. Because when you went to the reservation, that will have already been blocked. And you'll know when you can schedule a basketball court and when it's occupied by the camp programs, which is the other big thing that we're starting, is our summer camp programs.
Hold on.
Todd, is that different from past summers?
What's that?
Is that different from past summers? The basketball court being used by camps?
It's always been used.
So the difference now is that people have visibility into when it's booked?
Yeah, but in previous, they would show up and expect to play and not be
They'd
able
hope to play and not be, okay.
Yeah, so now with this.
Let me ask you, no, it's okay. For the people that are listening, how do you make reservations and how far ahead should they be making reservations? Do you call in? Is it online?
You can call in, and we've helped people, but most people do it online on our website, activeislandry.org. We've been doing this since July. It's been well received.
Been great.
Everybody's got it down. People know that they can call the front desk if they want to amend their reservation. They can call the front desk to see if, hey, did somebody drop out? Is there a space open? We're very flexible.
It's my understanding that the community center has been open only to members. Non-members cannot use it, even
That's
if they
always
pay
been
the
the
daily.
case since the community center has been open.
No, they pay the $8 daily fee or whatever, and they can use it.
This is the way since we opened. Everybody in Key Biscayne's a member. Depends how you want to pay.
Okay.
You can get an annual membership. You can get a monthly membership. Right now, obviously, I think the monthly membership is the best approach going forward, because maybe right now, this month, what we're offering isn't attractive to you and your family. Maybe, but one of our plans is from 4 to 9 on the weekdays to have the game room and the PlayStation Jungle Gym open to members. So when that happens, maybe, you know what, that's worth a membership for me. Until it happens, it's not. So this lets, and also why the monthly works for us is right now, if you're a father who works out, the membership's worth it for you. Maybe when there's more amenities for the kids, maybe then a family membership is worthwhile. But while those are opening, you'll have the opportunity to evaluate what membership best works for you and your family.
If you are a Key Biscayne membership a resident, but you don't have an ongoing membership, you can go and pay the daily rate and use it.
Right now, we don't have a daily rate. We just have the monthly rate.
Okay, so that's my question. You have to have at least a monthly membership. Yes. Okay, and if you have a monthly membership or longer, can you bring guests?
Currently, no.
No. Okay.
You can on the basketball court.
You can. I'm sorry.
On the basketball court reservation, you can bring guests.
You can bring guests, but
one person makes the reservation, and they can bring 4 guests. Well, now it'll be 9 guests.
Okay.
So
and those don't have to be Key Biscayne residents, or they do have to? As long as the person making the reservation is the resident.
It has to be a resident, and
One person.
Guests should be residents. Yes.
Should or must be? I know.
I have to double check with our policy at the top of my head. I don't exactly recall.
Okay. All right.
And if I might add also, council member, obviously we want to do this and we want to take this slowly because I think there's some other factors we need to consider. Number one is demand. Is this going to be, there's two sides of this story. So, is this going to be an attractive way to move forward? Secondly is the space. And I think Todd clarified that. The public safety, and we want to make sure that that goes forward. It's also staffing. As you know, we've lost a lot of our part-time staff over this last year. So Todd's going to have to begin to hire them back so that we can staff this facility properly. So that's going to take us a little bit of time to get the quality people that we need to get back into the community center.
Our biggest driving force right now, we have 3 room monitors. Before we closed, we had 20. Before we closed, we had 14 front desk. Now we have 6. So to achieve some of the greater openings, we're going to have to bring people in. And I can remember when we opened the facility, when you're bringing in all new people, you're at like a 50% attrition rate that aren't going to work for you. So it's a big focus. I think when the manager came by the office today to meet with me on this, he saw us interviewing people. So we're hoping we can find the people within the community to get us up and running so we can expand those hours in the operations.
Okay, actually, that leads me to another question. You said that you just last week increased the numbers per slot
for basketball, yes, sir.
And swimming and the weight room.
For swimming. Weight room we did a while back.
A while back. Okay. When is the next time that, if best case scenario, people can expect another increase in capacity?
I'll double check with the manager, but I think the weight room we're pretty confident we can do next week.
Is that the 30 to 45 or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then after that, it's see how it goes.
That's what the manager was saying is we're going to evaluate. We're going to see. I have a sense that that's going to meet the demand, but if not, then we'll see how it's working out. If people are frustrated, it's too crowded, or if we have more capacity with the space laid out the way we have now, I think we can accommodate more people with the cards, some cardio equipment now in the dance and aerobics. And also we're going to start trying some indoor training classes and see how the community receives that. And to the manager's comment, if there's a demand to come back and do yoga in the community center, then maybe we keep moving along. If people say like, I'm not comfortable, then there's no point in programming something that the community doesn't want.
And I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but just to clarify, if someone shows up to the community center not wearing a mask, they will not be turned away. Correct?
No, they will not be. Okay. But I do want to know, we are going to post on each one of our facilities the words that I used before, that we strongly encourage the use of masks and social distancing.
Right. And I think we've been pretty consistent as a community, and we've been pretty good about doing when we're looking out for other people, we've done the right thing. So I'm hoping that when people are coming back to the community center, they're looking out for the folks who are working there, because those are the people, if they're not vaccinated, if they're coming on the key and working, you're putting those people at risk if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not taking the right precautions for their health and well-being. So I would hope that the folks in this community continue to do the outstanding job they've done for the past 14 months.
Let's vote. Your question?
Yeah, I'm calling the question right now. As amended. We're voting on the resolution as amended.
As amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, Mr. Mayor, it's after 8 o'clock. Do you want to?
Manager's report.
Manager's report.
One point I did forget, and somebody just reminded me, we have a lot of under 12s in these facilities. So they haven't been vaccinated because they don't have the access to the vaccination. So let's remember that when people start thinking, my rights, I don't want to wear a mask. You're potentially putting our kids at risk. And we've seen in the past week, 24% of the new cases are children. So let's take this, we may all be okay, but let's remember those who may not be. Thank you. Yeah, let's take the manager's report, please.
Reports and recommendations, village manager's ongoing project update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be the village manager, my first official council meeting. And I appreciate the opportunity to present just a few items to you tonight, and then I'll turn over to our Public Works Director to go through a couple project updates. Number one, we just talked about the COVID policy. I was going to go into a little bit of detail here, but I think we've covered that substantially. And so I'll go into the next one. Our goal is to fully open the chambers by June 15th for our next council meeting. And what I mean fully open is to actually improve the communication system that we have here so that we don't have folks listening to it on their phone and being a part of the, trying to be a part of the meeting. Again, that is equipment dependent. Mike and I are going to look at that tomorrow. Mike Fleming and I are going to look at that tomorrow, and we'll keep you posted on the timeline of that equipment coming in. And hopefully we can be fully back to normal, obviously with the partitions come next council meeting. Policing plan, I think we had a fantastic meeting last night. I really appreciate the feedback from the community. I think we all appreciate the feedback from the community. The police chief and I are open for any conversation with any of the council members one-on-one this week, and then we will begin to put together our plan moving forward. As we mentioned last night, we are going to continue this surge as we are at this point through the end of this month, through Memorial Day. And then on the first week of June, we will come up with a subsequent plan and again present it to you on June 15th. I've also heard one item tonight with the direction of presenting options for the skate park. We will also do the same. Public Works Director and the Parks Director and I will sit down and come back with look at some plans and come back to you all on June 15th. With that, I'll turn it over to Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. First item, conversion from septic tanks. We got 3 more properties in compliance, so we have a total of 72. And now that we come out of COVID, we're going to meet with Miami-Dade County, Durham, and we're going to give another push to the move of enforcement. Good news at the Beach Club, we are finally finished the design, and then we'll start the construction for the sewer extension so that Beach Club can be legally fronted by a sewer, and at that point on, they can connect the sewer and they'll be off the septic. We're probably thinking by this year, August, they'll be off. And that's the good news there. One other thing that I want to update, the comprehensive landscape services. I'm asking or sense of the council to authorize us to negotiate 2 additional contracts with landscape providers. Last year, we recommended 2 firms to provide landscape services, SFM for primary for landscaping and the visual scape as secondary. And for the tree trimming, visual scape as primary and SFM as secondary. Throughout our experience, we faced some issues. And again, this is not their fault. Everybody has the same issues with the labor shortage, which proved the point that we need a backup plan, secondary provider, so that we can attend to our needs in the community. And one thing that I wanted to highlight, for the tree trimming part, Visual Scapes number was roughly about $100,000 less than SFM last year. And there was our back then manager's recommendations as well as mine. And the beautification board back then recommended to reverse that decision or recommendation, and council approved it. At this time, I'm in front of you to reverse that issue, that decision, and authorize us to negotiate Visual Scape and provide about $100,000 savings in tree trimming. We are actually letting you know we're going to be negotiating contract and bringing back the next council meeting.
Well, I don't know if you had problems hearing, but I didn't understand. I either didn't hear you or did not understand the last part on landscaping at all.
Okay.
You went through it, and 100,000 and a contractor, and it's all applicable.
Okay, I'll repeat it. For the tree trimming services. Yes,
maybe I'm having trouble.
I'll speak. I'm not sure.
What are you asking specifically? To give you further authority to negotiate with another provider?
Correct.
And the reason for that is what?
Cost savings.
Cost savings?
Correct.
I misunderstood. I thought I heard something a little different. You want to do two things. One is to have a backup plan because there's labor shortages on the various functions. The other is to reorder the primary and secondary for tree trimming. Is that correct?
Maybe I went too fast. I'll step back and explain it again. We did a solicitation about a year ago, and we had about six landscape companies apply for it, and we ranked them, and we recommended two firms, and we grouped them in two. For general right-of-way and parks maintenance, we asked SFM to be provided with a contract as a primary, and we asked Visualscape as a secondary in case SFM is not available for whatever reason that we needed to tap into number two. On tree trimming, we asked council to approve Visualscape as the primary because they were about $100,000 cheaper than SFM at that time. And we asked for the same reason SFM to be number two in case Visualscape fails or whatever reason I need to tap in number two. But at that time, a beautification board made a recommendation to against that recommendation that the manager made and give everything to SFM. That's what it was. And tonight, I'm asking that we undo that and negotiate with Visualscape so that we have secondary providers for both parts, as well as have Visualscape be primary for the tree trimming, so we save about $100,000 for the fiscal year.
Apart from the savings, they're competent to perform that work?
Councilmember Cigarella is up next. Sorry.
The savings we get, they're competent to perform tree trimming?
I can't really hear you.
Competence.
Competence. They're both reputable companies, so yes.
Councilmember Cigarella.
Can't hear you.
You put on your...
There. Jake, a couple questions. Our contract with SFM for tree trimming is still active, right?
Correct.
It hasn't been canceled for cause or without cause or anything like that?
No, sir, no action has been taken. It's still valid.
Okay. Last year, when we went through this process, the council did go with SFM for both things because of the quality of their work and the input of the beautification board. Now, my problem with this request is, number one, this has to be some sort of breach of contract with SFM with what we have in place with them, number one, if we do this. And number two, this also has to be a violation of the village charter requiring contracts being put out for bid. If we don't put this out for bid, if what you're asking is a rebid of the job, you have to tell SFM what's going on. You have to cancel a contract or terminate it, and you have to let them bid again or renegotiate. But I don't think we have the way I see it, we don't have the power just pursuant to the charter or the village charter to do this.
Your point is well taken. I did consult with village attorney. As far as the solicitation, we're not going out of all the firms that the Visualscape, the Brightview and others and SFM, they were participant in initial solicitation. And I'm not sure, I don't think we have to go down a solicitation. Am I correct, Chair?
Well, first, I want to address the first point.
Yeah, let the village attorney
on
respond.
the first point, I believe, Jake, our contract's an at-will contract. We can terminate with or without cause.
Cancellation.
So
that's fine. So terminate it.
I understand, but to your point about a breach, there is no breach. Jake has spoken with them. If the village wants to terminate without cause, the village has the right to do that.
That's fine. Then you have the issue of going out to bid because you're talking about numbers from a year ago.
Correct. As to the second point, I don't think we've decided yet, at least the administration, on how to proceed. However, if we were to bring an item, the village code and charter allow for waivers of competitive bidding, which could be in place.
I've looked at the village charter when I looked at the agenda, and I'm sorry, you tell me which exception applies to this case.
I'm not saying I'm not weighing in on which exception. We haven't even got there yet. I'm just saying there are exceptions that can apply.
I understand, but contrary to what you're saying, you are in fact asking us to authorize.
That's not true. I'm not
to negotiate other contracts.
That's not true. Jake was here to give you guys a presentation.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Jake was here to give you a presentation update on what's been happening. Jake was not asking for the authority. Jake
he just told Frank yes. That he's asking for the authority to negotiate new contracts to bring it back at the next meeting.
No, he was giving you guys. Go ahead, Jake.
That actually we'll negotiate contracts with Visualscape and a Brightview and bring it back on in the following meetings. So I might have missed it.
Even so, he doesn't need that authority. I mean, the staff negotiates contracts. They bring it to the council for approval.
If it's over $50,000, it has to be put out for bid according to our village
charter. Or a waiver
charter.
would have to apply. Correct.
And tell me which waiver applies, so then I can decide this tonight if we're authorizing this to happen or not.
We're not making.
No, we
this
haven't even got to that point.
Guys, this is an update from him. This is all. There's no vote coming to us.
There was a request for an instruction on what to do. He just said it.
I think he Did you misspeak on this?
Yes, sir.
He can't make a request. That would have to come before us.
Okay, so there's nothing before us to decide tonight.
No, zero.
Okay.
This is just an update. This is the manager's update.
Okay.
Mr. May I ask a
question? Councilmember Laredo.
Jake, would you, manager, Mr. Manager, I know that during the long period of selection process, you were here a lot. So I'm not going to hold you to a lower standard that you've only been here a week. So you know this village pretty much. You did a great job of getting to know people and the places. It's the landscaping, particularly in the medium, is probably for our taxpayers. It's one of the few things that they can actually tangibly see, pleasant for, And so I see that it's changed considerably, are the public places. And are we through now mostly on Crandon, on the landscaping?
We are about 80% there. There's still 80%. Some areas pending.
This is sort of a loaded question, but have you noticed something, Mr. Manager, in all those times you come in about our entry?
Council member, I've never been here before until last Monday. That was the first time I came here.
You came to Key Biscayne?
As an employee, yes, sir.
No, I'm saying as a person. You've been coming for 6 months.
Yes, I have.
And even as of this week or today when you came in, have you noticed something in the entry that we were struggling to make it more beautiful?
Of course, I'm joking. But yes, it looks 100 times better than when I've come, not only just in the past, but years in the past. And I think the job is being very well done. And
you don't notice that the signs are all covered up by the landscaping.
Well, the flowers seem to be growing.
We've been talking about this for 2 years, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, the flowers seem to be growing a little bit high.
Well,
and I brought that up.
What you need to know is we've been talking about this for 2 years. So I don't understand any employee who would not see something as simple. I use it as a test. It's not a trivial. We're not connected. He chopped down because a lot of citizens have come to me. The sign is not readable. The original stuff was there was covering everything. We go to bids, we get a whole new contract, and we do the same thing all over again. A lot of business people here, I just don't. You may think it's trivial, but it's symptomatic. What are we going to do now? Uproot all those flowers?
We've had Jake and I had that conversation.
And Jake and I have had this conversation at least 10 times. Constructive reflection. We need to be more sensitive, more aware, and that just starts. It's been a subject for quite a while.
I thought, in addition to the observation about the flowers, which I've heard before, I thought you were going to say something else, and I think to add it, which is that maintenance and proper pruning is very important. And so the firm that is selected to do this work, I don't know what's happened, with SFM, but it's important that they do a great job. It's a lot of investment, and if you don't prune properly, it doesn't work. You know that.
As far as the entry block, it was not our recommendation to install those plants there. And however, it's there, but we have different plans for the entry block, total renewal for the entry block signs. We work with the beautification group, and they will be from the council on June meeting to present their recommendation to council on how to update the signage and new monumental entry sign there. So it's all going to be updated. And if you get the funding on the budget, it will be built next year.
Excuse me, Jake, I'm sorry. What answer is that? I'm sorry. What was the answer that you're going to wait for to do a new entry signs?
Correct.
Subject to us funding it.
No, what I said was we are working on updating the entry block signs, both signs, the one that is the coral stone as well as the one electronic sign, merging them into one singular sign. And Village Beautification Board working on some concepts, and they'll make a presentation before the council on June meeting. And at that time, depending on what the council says, we'll move forward accordingly. And if it, in fact, council wants to move forward and funds it, we'll build it next year.
All right, so the short answer is subject to the council funding it. So if the way it is and the way it was a year and a half ago, you and I and members of the Art in Public Places, people walk through it. Remember, we've had Bill Duran and all, and we chopped that down and we put it back up. Now we're going to do a new sign, but of course we have to pay for and the landscaping that was put in new did the same thing that the other one did. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't.
So
please take it in the right mode. I
do get the right way.
Okay.
I do get a lot of requests from residents about how the sign is outdated, and that's what the beautification board is working on, and they will bring it in front of you. And if the council doesn't like it, it's dead. If the council likes it, move forward. But we're just simply entertaining our residents' request that comes to my office through the beautification group.
So if we don't fund it, it stays with the new flowers that we pay for covering the sign.
Correct. Sorry, if it's not funded.
But how do you let that happen? Yeah. Never mind.
Council member, if it's necessary, let me talk to the director, and we'll determine how we can ensure that the signs are fully visible until we make a decision, and if we can fund going forward to a different sign.
It's on the manager's report.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is public comments.
Right. I see we have one person signed up via Zoom. Does anybody in the room wish to speak? Okay. Pete, what? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's public comments. You want to come up for 3 minutes? Come on up. Jocelyn, I got it. Okay, hold on a second. We got to switch over so that you can be heard.
He spoke before, no?
No, he hasn't spoken tonight. He spoke yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we're set.
Should I?
All right. Go ahead, Lucas.
Hi, Luca Bocachampo from 201 Sunrise Drive. I don't know if he's in the agenda yet, but we're talking here, and we're a few fellow kite surfers here in the island. And we want to talk about it because there is a concern of safety. That's what I read on the comments for the meeting. We are here because we wanna talk to you. And we've been through this for many years, and we are doing a lot of efforts to educate the kite surfers to be considered with the beach walkers and the beach walker with the kite surfers, to not have a conflict. That's why we have our dedicated space for the sport. And we want to bring this to the council so we can talk about it and not having people like complaining all over the place. So we're here to see if how can we assess some like meeting to do the whole what we did before, like the channel and dedicated space for kite surfers in the area. So basically, we talk about having lack of space for sport and activities for the kids. And we have the biggest park, which is the beach, underutilized. Like we can have the idea that we were talking about is we can have programming in the community center for water sports that there are none. And we live by the beach. If you go to Hawaii, if you go to North Carolina, if you go to any other place, all the sports go to the water sport because it's what you have available. They're great sport like kite surfing. It's not even only kite surfing. You have kite surfing, kayaking. You can even bring the Optimist, lasers, and Sunfish from the yacht club and do a program because if you're not a member for the yacht club, you can practice that. And you can do a program in the beach. It's not only for kite surfing that we're talking about. So doing something like, or proposing something like a concession that you can have. So you can have order in the water sports, and you can also have a service for the community, adding those sports to the community. Kite surfing, which is the main concern that we hear, is a sport that is being played by kids from 12 to older citizens. Like we have a friend, 80-year-old, doing kite surfing. So it's a very healthy and a very safe sport to play. It's something that we have to take in consideration because people get scared because they don't know, not because it's dangerous or not, because it looks probably a little bit like threatening for the people walking, but it's not really. I believe we can work together, bring that back to the meeting, and start working on having even the sports bring from the community and trying to do something with the sports and adding that to the community. And we have the biggest park we have in the whole island is the beach.
I gotta ask you to wrap up.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much. So we're complaining about space. We have a lot of space. We're not using those spaces because we don't have the program for the sports, and we can help provide that.
Thank you.
That's basically what. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else in the chamber? All right, Pete, let's do the spiel for online.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching us on channel 77 on Comcast, on channel 99 on AT&T, or streaming us live via our website, if you do wish to address council or make a public comment, please dial 305-365-7569. Then please enter the meeting ID of 231-627-8415. For those of you currently in the meeting and wishing to speak, if you are dialing in, please dial *9 to raise your hand via telephone, or if you're using our app, simply raise your hand. Mr. Mayor, I currently have 2 people signed up to speak. Our first speaker is telephone number ending in 175. Caller, please dial *6 now to unmute yourself. Caller, you are live.
Good evening, Carlos Rivero, 141 Crandon Boulevard, apartment 131.
I'm sorry,
Dear Mr. Mayor and council members, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Seems that our daily lives are seeing some sense of normality after a very difficult 14 plus months of dealing with this raging pandemic. So normal, in fact, that we find ourselves here again talking about kite surfing. I take exception with the characterization of kite surfing as dangerous. It is misleading, discriminatory, disingenuous, and plainly false. As with everything we do in life, there are inherent risks with every activity we undertake. In a sense, being alive poses risks, but we do not stop living because of it. I would argue that crossing the street on Crandon Boulevard these days is very dangerous, with kids on electric scooters on the sidewalks, speeding drivers, and total disregard for traffic laws. But yet, I do not see a pedestrian safety and traffic enforcement on the council's agenda. And I wrote this before knowing about last night's meeting, which I commend and applaud. Kite surfing, when done with the proper training, under the right weather conditions, adequate equipment, and safeguards, is an extremely safe and enjoyable activity that kids as young as 9 and as old as you're able to walk and swim by yourself can do. kite surfing accounts for about 7 injuries per 1,000 hours of physical activity, which makes it way safer, a lot safer than football at 36 injuries per 1,000 hours and soccer at 19 injuries per 1,000 hours. I'm not sure what the purpose of kite surfing being on the agenda tonight is. We would welcome a conversation with council and with fellow citizens and residents of the village to understand and address your concerns. And I'm confident that we can achieve this. I am part of the Key Biscayne Water Sports Association, which supports kite surfing on Key Biscayne and has more than 150 Key Biscayne residents and registered voters under its ranks. We have been before council many times and would welcome the opportunity for open dialogue to address any issues and concerns that the Key Biscayne community has around kiteboard. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Mr. Cordalis. Cortades. My apologies, sir. If you'd just like to unmute yourself.
Try it again. Hello. There you go. Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Also regarding kite surfing.
Please state your name and address, please.
Sorry, Xavier Cortadelas. I'm not a resident from Key Biscayne. I'm resident from Hallandale Beach. Just thanks for the opportunity to participate. Love the debate of what's going on in the city. Just want to build on the issue brought by Lucas, Carlos, and others. I come to Key Biscayne for kite surfing since the beginning of the year. I'm a rookie, I'm a newbie, and I just want to add on top of the comment of my colleagues how important safety for everyone in our group. I have been impressed on kind of how people take care about each other, how they take care also of the beachgoers, and how safety is paramount for everyone practicing these fantastic sports in your area. I've been in sports my whole life, and I can tell that safety is a priority for the group. So just wanted to build this on top of the comments of my colleagues. And I'm sure that there are ways to figure out space and the right regulations to combine kite surfing with other beach activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Mr. Mayor, is Cece Sanchez.
Cece, go ahead.
Okay, do I?
State your name and address. Unmute yourself. There you go. There you go. Okay, Cece, speak.
260 Cypress Drive.
Perfect.
I would like to give my opinion on what happened in the landscaping in the contractor selection. I was a participant, or at least a listening participant, when the contractors were selected. No one ever went before they approved the contractor, the two contractors, before going to visit any of the sites that the contractors maintained. After the two contractors were selected, Ariel Simon, at that time village horticulturalist, and I went to visit. One SFN contractor took us around Coral Gables swale areas, and that is all they did. Rings around trees and mowing lawns like in Coral Gables. That's where we went around. After that, we went to a park in Pinecrest to see the work of the second contractor, the one that is being endorsed now to do the trimming of the tree. We were horrified by the maintenance of that Pinecrest park, which they were the contractors there. Therefore, we came back, reported to the village what we had seen, and that was the reason the beautification board at that time voiced their opinion that maybe SFN should be the only one, because we were afraid of what would happen to our trees if this other contractor came on board. Now, I do not see SFN personally doing such a good job. That is up to you to decide. I've certainly sent pictures and will certainly provide you more pictures of subpar maintenance. Now, if we, the Beautification or Village Beautification Foundation, ever have a meeting again, and I, who was chair, be invited again to join and participate, I could certainly try and help, as I've always tried to do, for the betterment of our island. But that was the reason. Please make sure you know who is going to take. I agree with Frank Kaplan. It is imperative that we find a good, reputable contractor to take care of our very neglected trees, which we have.
Thank you, Ceci. You got to wrap up.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Mayor, I have nobody else signed up to speak.
Okay. Let's close public comments.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is reports and recommendations. Mayor and council members. Kite surfing can be dangerous to beachgoers. Councilmember Laredo.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman. I had heard a lot of the comments today, and actually today, the next to last one was a little bit disappointing. It's like you stop talking while you're ahead. Words like any citizen, taxpayer who is on the beach and feels that things are out of control. It's not a false statement. It's a fact. And if you're not connected to those facts, we're not going to get anywhere. Yes, we've come before this council a lot of times, and we've given you quite a bit of leeway. We love the stuff that we do. We love kite surfing, but we cannot forget that it is first and foremost a sport. And there are citizens in this community who pay taxes and live on the water, who like to enjoy the beach, the sand, with their kids and grandchildren, etc. And not you, any one of you, are responsible, but there are people out there that are being not only breaking the rules, that are not being enforced. And I heard a lot of your comments from the association that you're going to be self-police, and also have been aggressive, mostly to women who call to their attention their dangerous behavior. So to his rhetorical question that he doesn't know what this meeting is all about, it troubles me that if you don't know what this meeting is all about, we got a bigger problem than we thought. So here's the problem. A lot of citizens that I previously alluded to, and I met with them, and they showed me their concern. And as I know, and I think in the spirit of what this community, we always have to make difficult decisions, that they needed a hearing, and that we needed a hearing, a reality check that what we thought was okay is not okay. Now, it so happens that I live on the beach, and it so happens that after I met with Sabram, I went outside and took pictures. That was Saturday. And they were just with me. I didn't read it. I didn't hear with somebody. About 3 or 4 about people coming, I don't know what the speed is, right through to Key Colony, which is not right to the sand. I saw it. I seen it. I have pictures from today. While you were all meeting, I have some pictures taken and sent to me. Again, so council members, we have a problem here, a tragedy waiting to happen. We talked about yesterday of our police problem, and the fact is you citizens who show up only for one item, don't participate in other things. To me, it's regrettable. We don't have enough policemen to go out there and take care of all their responsibilities. Would you have to address as a group this issue and take their concerns seriously, and don't call them false? Don't call them all the other adjectives that I want to read that one of the gentlemen who phoned in, which are degrading to the other point of view of a citizen, and see if we can work something out. But I can guarantee you that there is a problem. and you can see it and you can feel it. You may be so, by the way, yes, of course it's not dangerous. It's not dangerous to you who are a professional, but it's dangerous to them, grandmothers, like one of them who spoke this morning, who is afraid to walk with their grandchildren. So I don't want to beat this to death, Mr. Mayor and Councilman, but perhaps this should be elevated to a very high rank of priority with a new manager to perhaps meet. Seems to be a little bit of, except for some speakers that get a little bit too agitated, see how we can work together on this. If not, I, for one, I'm going to shut it down. And I was one of the biggest supporters because it's inconsiderate. It takes two to tango, and we have to help each other live nice and Key Biscayne nice. It's a problem now. If it's the will of this group, formally, because you say it's a formal group, to engage in serious conversations about ultimate location or self-policing. And I know some of you, there's some real, kite skating and, kite surfing out there, and they're causing you a problem. They're causing you a reputational problem. And this is an opportunity for you to step up and help us accommodate both the needs of people who want to use the beach peacefully and tranquilly and not having to look at things going over their head. And if it's okay with you, that would be the only solution I can see, because we're not into managing. We have a manager. Perhaps we can start, but it's got to be done quickly, Mr. Manager, and Mayor and Council, because summertime is coming. And it's some of you who don't live on the beach, this stuff really flies.
I swim in the ocean usually once a week.
Yeah.
I do a mile a week in the ocean.
And 90% of them do right, but some of them are absolutely.
That's right. But I just want to, I want to be clear. I live on the ocean. I've grown up.
No, I know that, but it's you're seeing how it goes. And it's just a tragedy waiting to happen. And I think it's very good if we take some preventive steps to make sure that we can all live together and be safe. Not you as kite surfers, because you got to know how to stay safe, but people who may feel unsafe and are unsafe.
I think that's the point I would take away. I think we all have to learn how to live together. This has been an ongoing thing. We've all been trying to do this for, I don't know how long. Karen and I have been talking about this since 2007, 2008. We've been, and finally they got a spot on the beach and there's a lane. And look, I've had my interactions with friends actually who were on kites. The summer months, to your point, I think the summer months are probably like slow it down. Right. They're better for the beaches because the winds die off.
The wind is dying.
But I agree. I know you guys were putting together a plan. When we talked a while back, there was a serious plan in place to make sure that the people who are going off were trained. Because to some of the anecdotes, I've seen people going out who look, I'm not a kiter. I don't know how to kite. That we've got people on staff who know it. And I'm like, that guy should not be on a board right now because he's learning the sport. And I don't want him learning around grandmothers with kids. So I think we do have to we have to get together again. And maybe what it is sitting down and talking this over and figuring out with residents who want to be safe and with you. And it took so long to get that one spot, but I get it. If there's something we have to talk about, then we have to talk about it. I know you guys did it. I wasn't on council when the spot got chosen, and I know how tough it was for that council. But we have to address this so that everybody can live together in harmony. Lucas, I think you had some good points about other things we may want to do on the beaches. But I'll go to Councilmember Kaplan, then I'll go to Councilmember McCormick, and then I'll go to Councilmember Moss.
It sounds from the testimonials that this, as an FYI, was needed. We worked so hard to create this opportunity and to balance difficult tension points between competing interests. And we did it in a way that I think persuaded people on both sides of this issue that there were credible, achievable, safe solutions. And if what's happened is that there have been deviations from the procedures that were put in place in whatever year it was, 2014 or whenever it was, I'd like to know what deviations have occurred. And I'd be wide open to listen to your creative ideas on your side as to what to do to improve those glitches, if they are glitches, From the emails that I've received over the past few days, I gather that they include people that are not members of your group, that are, acting as sort of cowboys and cowgirls, if that's a proper metaphor, and creating a bit of havoc out there to your dismay and consternation, as well as the degraded safety of the beachgoers. So that has to be addressed. Lucas's points about broader opportunities for water sports, I'm wide open. And I think that my impression of the work that we did on council in collaboration and partnership with all the constituent groups was a good thing. It was a good process, and I think it probably should be replicated, because I think we on this dais want to find accommodations. It's the same conversation in a way that we had about the skate park. There's a group that wants to be able to do something that's healthy and it's outdoors, and it's crazy not to try to help them find a way to do it. So I'm on board with helping. I worked real hard on this when we first got together, and I'm ready to work hard again. Count me in.
Okay. Councilmember McCormick and then Councilmember Moss.
I feel like this meeting a little bit is like the ghost of Katie Petros, because we've had two of her big initiatives. I was sad to hear that this has been breaking down, because we did work really hard, and it was something that I was proud of that our council did, and proud of that a special group in our community worked so well with the village. And I think that the good news is I think that we did so much good work that the foundation is still there. Hearing what's happening, it sounds like there was maybe a possible explanation that some of the problem could have had to do with the beach restoration project, but also it sounds like we're not adhering to the rules as they were set when we provided this channel. And I was speaking with Katie Petros about it and trying to remember the term body dragging. It took me a little while to get there. No one is supposed to be kite surfing inside the channel, or certainly inside the vessel exclusion zone. And I think we talked a little bit when we set the pricing for the streamer system and the permit. We talked about, did we need to build in money for some sort of regulation, a person on the beach, a marshal of some sort. And I think we had ideas from your group that you were going to try to marshal yourselves. I know we got a wonderful email from Fernando about ideas. I think that there is definitely work that needs to be done here to get back to a place where we can all coexist. I mean, the stories that we heard today, I know that you as residents and people who abide by the rules of kite surfing do not think that any resident should be having the experiences that we heard today. And if we're having issues, I looked at the registration form when you register to become a kite surfer in the village. One of the rules is you need this certain level certification and ability to kite surf. So we should not have anyone doing lessons on the beach. We shouldn't have novices there. We had long discussions about the fact that this was not a safe place for those activities to happen. So I think it is time for us to, as the other council members have said, to have your group and the manager's office sit down and figure out what we need to do as a community, both as a kite surfing community and as a greater beach community as a whole, to make this work. Because nobody wants to say we can't do it, but we certainly can't have it continuing the way that it is right this minute. But the good news is we have a lot of rules that were already in place that hopefully, I remember we had long discussions even about how many people could, I might use the wrong word, but rig at one time, so as not to take up, at the time we didn't have nearly as much beach as we do now, but we literally contemplated people walking on the beach and not getting caught up in lines and I think for a long time your group really complied, and we didn't have these issues, and we were able to peacefully coexist. So I'm hopeful we can get back there, and that we don't have to get to the point where we say this clearly just doesn't work. I don't think anyone wants that, but clearly it isn't working right now. So and I'm happy to commit myself in any way I can to help get us back to where this works.
Councilmember Moss.
Thank you. I'll try to keep it short because a lot of what you said was what I was going to say. So thank you, Councilmember McCormick. I think that safety is the number one concern for everybody, whether you're a kite surfer, a boater, a resident. Safety is number one. So we always have to keep that foremost, a highest priority. At the same time, and by the way, I think one of the speakers said that they didn't see Crandon Boulevard on the agenda, but it is on the agenda tonight, and we are going to discuss that with the issues with pedestrians and safety on there as well. But at the same time, we do live on an island, and I think it would be. And I don't think any of us want to limit anybody from using the water and water sports. We think it's great, and I agree. I really want this to work. I'm sure there's possible other options. Maybe what we came up with, we've tested it out. Maybe it's not working the best, but I share what Councilmember Kaplan said, that I'm 100% support to help to make this work so we can coexist and people can enjoy the ocean on an island, and at the same time, people on all sides can feel safe. And I think that one thing that does, I didn't know that this was a serious issue. I haven't heard a lot come out of issues on either side. But I think it's really important to the kite surfers that if you see somebody who is not obeying these types of rules, like dragging out in there, you guys should be the first to call the police, call somebody right away, because those guys are going to ruin it. They're going to ruin this issue if somebody's being unsafe, because somebody will get hurt, and then it's a big problem. And also I don't know if the people who are walking on the beach also see issues. If you call the police too, let them come out and assess the situation and get that report. So I think it's important that we get the enforcement going as well, because that's what part of the system for this to work is that we let people know that we're not going to accept unsafe conditions in any way. But thank you, and I really do hope that we can make this work.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Blu-ray, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe make it a form of a motion to authorize the manager to engage in a conversation to correct this problem.
Absolutely. Second. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. We're having a discussion right now. We're
what we're trying to do is
direct the manager to have a.
People have a conversation with the manager. I'm not sure what the residents are going to do. How are they going to participate in that conversation?
I'm sorry. I clarify my. You're right. I interrupt you because of I meant not the association, but all of the interested parties, your group and others.
That's fine.
That you would be invited. I think you should.
I think he should come up because people cannot hear him.
Come up. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to, let me just paraphrase. I think if you would give the manager your name and a lot of the people you represent that are not all here, it was intended by all of us that you generically, who have concerns as non-kiters, be present at all those meetings. Is that satisfied? I didn't phrase it right.
And if you're seeing, and again, if you're seeing things on the beach that are unsafe, call the police. That's a.
But this is not the moment to have this. You talked this morning or earlier. We want to set this.
Call the police. Call the police. Call the police. Make a report. That's going to get us started.
And I will, again, like I did yesterday, repeat the police. I mean, if it's an emergency, obviously you dial 911, but the direct line to the police department is 305-365-5555. To remember all the fives, it's very easy.
Yeah. Yes. For this particularly, yes.
May I just, since I made the motion, may I suggest, Mr. Mayor? Wait, excuse me.
Guys, please.
What I wanted to reflect after yesterday, to me, as I'm sure for you too, is a bigger issue here, and we have to nip it one at a time.
Right.
It's a growing conduct, I do what I want.
Right.
And I'll do it on Crandon, and I'll do it on the beach, and I'll do it on kiting, and I'll do it on dog on the beach. Dogs that are supposed to, and we put up beautiful signs, and they still do it. Right. And we don't have the money to have 3,000 policemen. So you have to take responsibility and enforce this, because we don't have the resources to do it. You can call the police if something, but it has to be, this is the bigger problem than just kiting, and we got to cut it because it undermines everything that we built this great village for, which is neighborly, considerate, keep Biscayne nice. Please help us.
Right.
Please help us.
Okay. Manager, you understand your direction?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, the motion was to direct the manager to work with concerned citizens on the issue of water safety, but specifically with kite surfing on the beach in Key Biscayne. Okay.
And you'll give the names of the manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Got it.
We're going to vote on it?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anybody's going to oppose them? All right. Next item. Councilmember Segurola, you recognized?
Discussions lately about enforcing. Sorry.
No, you're okay. You're unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. With all the discussions we've had lately regarding enforcing rules and laws, a couple weeks ago, I started taking a look at our golf cart ordinance to see if there's any way that maybe we can polish it up or make any changes. And I didn't really come up with any changes. What I came up with was questions, observations on things that I think we are not enforcing at all, or very little at most, and with what I believe is a potential conflict. Just to go over the ordinance. This is
well. Why don't we do that? I don't have a copy of the ordinance. Does anybody else have a copy of the ordinance? So it doesn't really do us any good. I didn't realize.
Well, yeah, I don't think you need more.
I thought you were. Well, I mean, if you're going to be reading off parts of the ordinance.
No. I'm not going to be reading off it. I'm going to be discussing several parts of it, which are self-explanatory. Number one, I guess is a question I have for Chief Press. I see him online. And I don't know if this is a question for the manager or Chief Press. Do we in fact have a licensure or inspection process for the golf carts on Key Biscayne? And they do have stickers?
We do.
And they all have stickers, and the police check for that every time they stop?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I've been stopped.
Now, the other thing, Section 2627 of our ordinance, slow-moving vehicles. Golf carts meeting the definition of slow-moving vehicles must also have a SMV triangular emblem attached to the golf cart.
Same thing.
I see plenty of golf carts on the street without them. A lot. I'd say the majority don't have that. That's a problem. The big one would be Section 2622 definition. Designated streets. All streets within the village except Crandon Boulevard, and by implication, are designated as being okay for golf carts. Now, 2624, prohibited use. Anywhere on the roadway, golf carts cannot be driven, or golf carts are prohibited anywhere on the roadway surface of Crandon Boulevard, except to cross the thoroughfare at marked intersections or intersections regulated by a traffic signal,
Or to go one block.
Or to go one block.
South of McIntyre, I believe.
Now, I'd be surprised if that part of the ordinance is ever enforced. And
got hit.
Well,
I did it.
You are
that was me.
You are greatly in the exception. Because
I'm just telling you. Well, I'm telling you, they've enforced it. You're saying I doubt it's been enforced. Okay. Personal.
On a daily
statute of limitations is over. I think I got pulled over. I got a warning, and they sent me home. I was
on a daily basis. We get golf carts driving up and down Crandon in the left lane, the full length. This is a problem that I think it needs to be enforced. It might be inconvenient, but if we're going to have an ordinance that we ignore and we don't back up the police for them to enforce it, let's wipe it out.
We talked about this last night.
Correct.
So, we want enforcement.
Of this part of the ordinance.
Of golf cart safety, yes.
Right, but my question, because this has come up before, I think over a year ago, and we went back and forth and we discussed, and nothing's really been on it. Are we going to allow golf carts to be driven on Crandon more than one block?
I don't, I mean, I'm of a mind that I would prefer to see the speed of Crandon come down to 20 miles an hour, but until it does, I don't think we can. So no, I think we shouldn't allow golf carts to be transiting up and down Crandon.
And so is the
until such time.
Okay, and so the direction of this council, is there a consensus to enforce that part of the ordinance and to not to issue violations to people that drive on Crandon for more than a block?
My understanding, Chuck, Chief, you.
Well, I think yesterday.
Hold on, I'm sorry, Chief Press, you're recognized to respond to that.
Thank you, and I would like to respond. It's a great point, Councilmember Cigarola. However, the officers have to actually be
in a position
place to observe where that golf cart got on and where it gets off to the closest possible exit. And unless we station several vehicles out there just to look for the golf cart ingress and egress, it's a very difficult charge to prove. Now, my personal opinion and my professional opinion is that we should not have golf carts on Crandon Boulevard. They should be allowed to cross the street. The reason that the village council, in their wise decision-making in the past, created these entranceways from Fernwood Road to the shopping centers was to eliminate and alleviate golf carts on Crandon Boulevard. They also created openings in between shopping centers to do the same thing. However, until that ordinance is amended, right now, they do have access to Crandon. It is probably one of the most difficult things we can do to enforce. And I would be all for reviewing with the manager and with council the idea of allowing golf carts to traverse at any time on Crandon Boulevard, because I don't care if they have that slow moving vehicle sign on. If they don't, it is still a golf cart versus SUVs, trucks that are making deliveries. It's a dangerous situation with babies on board and things like that. We've all seen it, and I do have a problem with it. So I would love for you all to address that specific part of the ordinance.
Chief, two observations on what you just said, and I am very glad for everything you just said. First, I have to point out, I disagree with your analysis that a police officer would have to watch where someone gets on and then gets off. I think the ordinance, the way it's written, all you have to do is watch them drive past the first opportunity to get off, and then they'd be in violation. But that's neither here nor there. I completely agree with you, and I would make a motion that we amend this ordinance so that golf carts are not allowed on Crandon at all. They're allowed to cross Crandon at cross streets, but to not travel on Crandon Boulevard. I completely agree with Chief Press with everything he just said about the dangers of golf carts. There are kids, families, toddlers, nannies driving them, hanging off the sides, on the right lane, on the left lane, shooting across 3 lanes to make the left turn lane. I don't think golf carts are in their element on Crandon Boulevard. I don't have a problem with them being anywhere else, but this is definitely a part of the ordinance I think we need to change. That's one thing. The second thing and the final thing is, I was reading our ordinance, and our ordinance says that in order to drive a golf cart, a driver has to be a licensed driver. Correct?
Correct.
Now, Florida statute has an ordinance, 316.212. That ordinance says that in order to drive a golf cart, a person, all they need to be is 14 years old.
Okay.
Now, that ordinance says that would be the operator. That ordinance, that specific part of the ordinance is 316.212.
See, again, I'd rather have this in front of me so I could have a discussion on it.
Where are you going with this?
Right, yeah. Well, I'll explain. Subsection 7. Now, subsection 8 says a municipality can apply a stricter rule as to the operation. Problem is, the way I read it, our ordinance conflicts with Florida statutes that we prohibit 14 and 15-year-olds from driving golf carts. An operator is not the operation. So my question is, I think our ordinance is wrong or in conflict with Florida statutes. And if please explain to me, I hope I'm wrong, because we've been giving out citations for who knows how long for 14 and 15-year-olds driving golf carts, yet Florida statute says a 14-year-old can drive a golf cart.
Ignacio, let Chad review it and get back to us in the next meeting.
Oh,
Chad,
you got.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You got council members.
I'm sorry, Brett.
And McCormick.
Yeah, just two quick things.
Thank you.
I think that the not driving on Crandon is difficult. For instance, if I'm going, sometimes I take my kids to the library. There's no way to get to the library unless you drive on Crandon. So there's some spots where you really need to get on there. But I'm also a person that gets off right away. I try to, maintain that one block every single time. The other thing is that the little reflector actually didn't even know about, and I don't even think I have it on mine. But at the same time, a lot of these new golf carts, what they have in the back is you actually step in now in the center, and they only have the two rails on the two sides. So I don't even know how I could even install that onto mine, where some of the older golf carts had the thing in the center where you can install it. Yep. So we may need to relook at what that can be on the back so that we do that correctly, because it may not be completed. But that's my 2 cents. And then the 14-year-old things, I think Chad should look at that. I mean, I think there's a difference between driving a golf cart and driving a street certified golf cart. And there might be a big difference between those two, but I would like to have our council to go and check that out and come back to us.
Allison?
I just was going to say the Crandon Boulevard, I think before we consider saying you can't ride a golf cart anywhere on Crandon, you have to contemplate people that live on Grapetree or the Towers. I don't know if the Towers allow golf carts. I've never lived there, but clearly there are people that live on Grapetree that have golf carts, and they're just going to be able to go up and down Grapetree.
Thank you. Anybody else on this?
I'd be, while we're talking about this, what would it take to lower the speed limit on Crandon?
It's a county road. I don't think we can do that.
Well, that's the next item that's coming up.
All right.
Anything else on this? What next item, Madam Clerk?
Well, did you make a motion or what?
Well, my motion was to amend the ordinance to eliminate golf carts from Crandon Boulevard.
Okay. Second?
I second it.
Discussion.
Because I second it because our police chief, who we talked to, and he is, by the way, Councilman Segurola, he showed yesterday a great increase in tickets. So we are using resources that we can put somewhere else. He is enforcing in the police department and doing more ticketing than ever on golf carts, as I understand it. But he's told us now professionally that if anything he would do is this, I got to go with it.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Agree. Fred?
I was just going to say that this is for me, this is a serious motion that just came up, and this is, I mean, we need to sit down and look at this, and I'm not ready to vote on this. So my vote would be against this.
I think that Fred brought up a couple points, even though that basically Again, I'm for the motion. There are certain areas such as coming out of the towers, Esplanade, a number of places where you can't cross and you have to go down Crandon Boulevard.
Well, Segurola, would you accept a friendly?
So I would say that we come back with
a friendly amendment to withdraw it and bring it for final decision on June 15th?
I accept.
Okay,
fine. Thank you. Next.
The next item, Mr. Vice Mayor, is directing the manager to begin the process of implementing the Crandon Boulevard Pedestrian Safety Master Plan. Councilmember Moss.
Thank you. So I don't know. I think we did this maybe about 3 years ago. I think it maybe it was this council. I'm just trying to remember, but we did a study after a child got hit crossing the yellow flashers at the park. And I know that this has come up on topic a few meetings ago, that Councilmember Laredo, I know you brought this up. And I actually, at that same meeting, I got emails from people who were very worried because they actually saw extremely close calls, especially in these peak hours when we have activities going on at nighttime on the Village Green. Kids are crossing, and there's some really close calls. And I think we brought this up about kite surfing and other things about safety, but I believe 100% that the most threat to anything in this, any person in the village, is the pedestrian and automobiles, and that's where we really need to focus, because something is hasn't and has been close calls, a couple injuries, a couple people hit. Luckily, I think we've had some deaths, but luckily no children so far. But it's in time something's going to happen, and when that happened, we went ahead and we hired an engineer. They put together a plan of what they suggested that we need to do on Crandon Boulevard to make it safer. And they first looked at the physical items, and one of them was lowering the speed limit. And they did a presentation about the amount, the survivability of between 5 miles an hour is tremendous with pedestrians. That was one topic. Others was removing a lot of the signs that we have on Crandon, because drivers are confused. I mean, when you're driving down, there's just too much going on. It was eliminating those. It was eliminating some of the crosswalks, too many crosswalks. The yellow flashers, we have them on two sides, and it becomes confusing. And we were looking at maybe making only in one direction. I know there was talk about possibly turning them to red flashers and different things like that. So what I would like to do is to see if this council, and again, we did this plan and it seemed to get on the shelf and just sit there. I think that we need to do something. And I think that now we have our new manager on board. I would like to see if this council would want to direct him to start that implementation, meaning that he doesn't have to spend any money on it right now, but you go and the manager can bring back and say, this is what we need to do based on this plan that we have. And I wanted to see if we could give him some direction to do that.
So you're basically asking the manager to review the plan, come back to us with a suggestion.
That's what we do.
And plan of implementation.
Yes.
I second it.
Everybody agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Excellent.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
That's it.
It's the community center reopening with. Yeah.
Done. Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, the motion.
You don't want to leave.